I'm trucking. I'm trucking. Hi, everybody. I'm trucking. He's trucking. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be listening to more issues. Pardon my voice. More issues of Boomerang Audiomagazine for children. And I'm going to be trucking like a bunny. Yep. Hi, everybody.
It just seemed like another sad case of people killing each other.
I'm hoping we find more deranged stuff like that in this batch of issues. Okay. House cleaning, housewarming, housekeeping, one of those things. So we are in the middle of, people were asking how the move was going, and we are in the middle of application hell, but we should be getting through it soon enough. But we have a house maybe in mind. We'll see how we're doing. So it's moving on. It's going on. It's happening. Today's drink is Jasmine Hibiscus Kombucha. I haven't tried this before. All right, folks. Wish me luck. Is this good? Oh, I love that, but I love jasmine, so that's great. That's perfect. I really love, what the fuck? I love that. I love that a lot. Oh, yeah, I do need, okay. So the thing is, if we get this place, it has a bigger backyard, and I've totally been thinking about making a beautiful backyard where I can just like game. I want to game in the backyard so bad, but I've looked at awnings. They're kind of pricey, but you know, we'll see. We'll have to wait till we get into the new place. The house is actually it's not in the middle of the street. It's on the side of the street like normal houses. We're not like the our house, which is somehow in the middle of the street, which should not be happening. Houses should be on the side of the road, not in the middle of the street. If your house is in the middle of the street, you're driving a van. All right, folks, let's get started here. So I'm trucking in the beautiful land of Texas. I also redid the layout a little bit so we can have a little bit more screen space and all that good stuff. Boomerang Magazine was an audio magazine for children from the 90s by Listen and Learn Home Education. It's for homeschoolers, and it's from your local library, and it's kind of crazy. And we're hoping to still stay in Austin. We probably will. We'll see. We will see if we stay in Austin with our move, but I think we might. All right, folks, let's just get started. Let's go. All right, love that flicker.
Boomerang is brought to you by Books and the rest of your friends at the public library.
And again, tell me if I need to adjust the audio or anything. So yeah, basically you're all a bunch of people. You're all my rowdy children in my back seat, and I'm trying to entertain you while I work. My work is driving. Oh no, we're not doing, oh God, I'm not moving to Arizona. I'm sorry. It's too hot. I'm not ready to explore Kansas, actually. I'm barely exploring Texas. Wacky music. Okay, I'm at the side of the road, but that's okay. I love this whooshing noise as I'm driving.
Have you ever found a buried treasure?
No.
Not lately. Me neither. I buried one though.
Did
Treasure,
you?
I mean. Help me out here a little bit, Fred. What's with all this treasure stuff? Oh, Smave the elevator man says he found a buried treasure once. Yeah?
Something about a train that's magic.
Speaking of instinct, I hear you're about ready to give up the rhubarb banana sandwich stand, Fred. Nah, not yet. But this issue, I talked to one of our subscribers about making money the whole
Haha, you got pulled over.
having fun.
Anyway, bye.
What's that have to do with instinct? The real question is, what's Josie doing wrapped up in the window drape? Oh, that's the closest thing she's got to a tunic.
It's a little quiet. Okay, I can turn it up a little bit. Hold on, let me just pull over.
What's that have to do with the tunic? Toby checks in with an audio postcard from North Carolina, and the king of complicated stuff takes us for a journey into the mind. I'm confused. It happens. Ladies and gentlemen, start your
All right. Let me know if that sounds better for y'all.
One of the Boomerang kids here to help you keep up with what's up. We've got stories, songs, kids' views of the news.
Oh, you got Bucky's merch? That's sick.
So cook up a cup of hot chocolate, put on your earphones, and feed your hand.
Bucky's is fun. Oh, I ran a red light. Don't worry about it.
Better in November than in July, and rhubarb and banana sandwich stands do better in the summer than in the middle of winter.
Why?
But real business people never let a little thing like a sales slump get in their way. They start thinking about ways to diversify. Diversify? That's just a fancy word for getting into other things.
Yeah, I'm always getting into other things.
Man, oh man, every car today is just going by. There has to be an easier way to make money. Well, at least I have time to read the kids section of the newspaper. Hold it, look at this. North Carolina boy.
Where are we in Texas? I forget. I forgot.
Hey,
We don't need to know about where we are in Texas. It's fine.
I'm gonna call this guy up. Maybe he can
Oh, you got beaver nuggets. Sick.
Hello, Logan. This is Freddy. I'm over at the Rhubarb and
Sorry, I'm
Banana
driving
Sandwich
poorly because I'm
stand.
looking at Chad. It's normal. Don't worry about it.
Rhubarb man? Well, I guess you being in North Carolina,
Oh.
you may have never been by. Anyway, business is a little slow here. I saw the story.
Oh yeah, Bucky's jerky is sick. I had some really good stuff last time I went.
Tell me a little bit about it. Where did you get the idea?
Got the idea from two books. One was called Build It With Box, and the other book was called, what was it? Making Sense, a children's guide to making money. And you can get them both at the public library.
Can you? What if my library bans it because they're like learning about money is homosexual or something?
On making things with boxes, and it gave me an idea of some things that I might want to make from my streetwear. And then I went into and looked at the money book, and it gave me an idea.
I love that you're drinking out of Bucky's brain cavity. That's where all
Sounds
liquids
like a
should
deal.
be.
How much did you charge?
I charged them.
Okay, we're cool.
I think we counted up maybe 42.
We're cool.
People came. I had a bicycle course. I had a tricycle course. I had beanbag toss. Go fish. Straw fort.
Yeah, real Huckleberry Hound pilled child.
Okay, now, how did you let people know about it?
Well, I gave flyers out. I made flyers on my computer, and I handed them out at my school mostly.
What did you spend all your money on?
Well, I spent it on buying new Legos. I forgot to tell you about my other money-making projects. 2 years ago, I had a good crop of gourds, pumpkins, and Indian corn, and I went door to door selling those.
Maybe we could be partners or something.
Maybe. Do you get out to North Carolina much?
Not yet, but it sounds like we could do some business together. I tell you what, I'll send you a rhubarb and banana sandwich in the mail.
No,
Maybe you could set up a franchise out there.
that sandwich is gonna be disgusting.
Okay, Fred. Thanks for calling me.
The library is a good place to get ideas too.
That's
As
true.
Fred discovered there's nothing better than talking to kids who've actually made some money. Freddie got all sorts of ideas from Logan, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a street fair the next time you visit Freddie's stand. Oh, and we heard from Logan after he got Freddie's package. It sounds like the rhubarb banana sandwich didn't do so well in the mail. Something about dark brown goop smelling like banana leaking out of the envelope.
Ew. I told him you can't ship the sandwiches.
Okay, boomers, it's time for letters from our subscribers about the funny things grown.
Okay, boomers.
Dear Boomerang, when I ask my parents to come up and put a bottom sheet on my bed, they say that they will be right up. But it takes them 15 minutes to come up because they're watching TV. Welcome to the Society of Television. May we suggest timing your request during the commercials, or if you really want to cause trouble, sit at the top of the stairs and play with the remote control. Here's a letter from
Okay, good merging.
Connecticut. Dear Boomerang, when I do chores around the house, Mom says, will you do the laundry? Oh,
Welcome, AI
might
October.
as well do the dishes while you're at it. They make it sound like it's just right on the way.
We agree, Emily. The 7-Eleven may be next to McDonald's, and the playground may be next to school, but doing the dishes doesn't sound anywhere near doing laundry. Finally, here's a letter from Anne Lyman, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Dear Boomerang, sometimes when I sneak a candy bar, my dad says no. He gets real mad at me and gives me a lecture. Then he says he's not mad at me. Why can't he admit he's angry?
Wow.
All different definitions of what being angry is.
That's true.
Maybe your dad is mad until he jumps up and down like Rumpelstiltskin and falls through the hole in the floor. If so,
We're in
our
McCamey,
advice
Texas, home of the mighty badger.
really make him angry. That's it for Big Talk. Send us your letters about the funny things you wrote us to. Maybe you'll hear yours in the next issue.
One afternoon, a woman came back to her house to find the living room crowded with 2-year-olds waving their hands back and forth. Leading the group was her 6-year-old daughter, Isadora, who proudly said,
All right,
"Look,
I don't
Mother,
need
I'm
no
teaching
turn
Dad all the
signal.
special kind of dance."
No, God, I need a turn
Mrs.
signal.
Duffy just shook her head and smiled. All three of Isadora's older brothers and sisters loved to dance, sing, and perform, so this was no surprise.
I will
No
not
one
stop at any
already
McCamey
noticed the
manners.
unusual
No.
level of self-confidence in the young girl. In fact, when the cupboards were bare, as they often were during a period in San Francisco, it was little Isadora who volunteered to go to the corner market to try to buy food on credit. It was as a dancer, though, that Isadora seemed especially gifted.
Thank you, Revna, for the 11-month resub. It's another sad case of people killing each other with trucks. It is, it
In
is.
exchange for a chance to watch her dance. When Isadora reached 18, she convinced her mother to take her to Chicago.
Hope
to
no
make
one's
her
there.
fortune.
There we go.
The next stop was New York, and then on to
It
London.
just seemed like another sad case
There was
of
still
people
no
killing
fortune,
each other.
But word had begun to spread through artist colonies all over the world of a woman who was dancing a new kind of dance. Not as disciplined or tightly structured as
It just seemed like another sad case of people killing each other.
Isadora usually danced in a long flowing robe called a tunic. And while she prepared each dance carefully, once she began moving, Isadora often abandoned everything and made things up as she went along. Gossip was that the woman was just as
Yeah.
wild as her dance.
There we go.
Of course, you have to remember this.
We're driving fine. Don't worry about it, kids.
Before women even had the right to vote in America.
It just seemed like another sad case of people killing each other.
Comfortable undergarments called corsets. What others called wild and outrageous, Isadora claimed to be simply free and natural. Money was always a problem. When she had it, she spent it on champagne, caviar, and fancy hotels.
She should have spent it on smoothies instead. That's what I do.
It wasn't unusual for Isadora to borrow money from friends for food and spend it on flowers instead. But friends and family forgave this and other weaknesses because she could dance like no one had ever danced before. I'm going back in time to 1912.
I use the thumbs
It just
down
seemed
because
like
if you
another
think
sad
about it,
case of people killing each other.
death is the ultimate thumbs down.
Kings and emperors and presidents. She has been running her own school of dance in Germany for a select group of students. Today at a studio in Paris, France, she is rehearsing for her next performance. Oh my gosh, Isadora, that was totally intense. My name is Josie. I'm here from Boomerang.
Hi, Josie.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. Well, thank you, Josie. Please, sit down, Josie. Thank
So
you
far,
much for
so
making time to see me
good.
stuck in.
I know you have an important performance this evening.
Oh, they're all important, Josie. A true dancer never puts more of herself into one performance than the next. She either
All right,
dances
yeah.
or
I'll
she
fix the alert thing in a
like
second.
light. Either on
Let me just drop this off.
Let's hear it for Jimmy the Trumpet.
Josie, what would you say dance is?
Well, I'm not really a dancer myself, but I would say it's a bunch of steps or movements you do to music.
That's true.
I do like your word movement. That is an important part of dance. But something must come before movement. Emotion.
You mean like
Oh.
being happy or sad?
Or jealous.
Oh,
or
good God, I'm
angry,
going too
or
fast.
defiant. Remember, Josie, dance isn't just something pretty to look at. Every dance I create tells a story. A story dripping with
Sorry.
emotions.
I'm in a hurry now.
I've seen
arms and feet beautifully, but they are not dancers. Because they do not feel. How can one hope to express emotion to others unless you first experience them yourself? So you see, it's not a matter of trying or not trying to dance. It is a matter of feeling and following a natural course of movement.
Okay. Okay, hold on here. There we go.
In New York, which called for me to dance as a fairy wearing these little tinsel wings. I thought the wings were an insult.
Yeah, when I tried to mute the second source, it just muted all alerts, so I think it might be doubling a little bit here. Not sure why.
Well, I lost that battle, but I was more
Appreciate your
determined
patience,
to establish
everybody.
my own form of dance.
All right, let's continue.
Isadora, when did you first begin to dance?
All right, let's find us a job. Yeah, okay, if I mute that, it... Interesting. Okay.
I was teaching dance along with my brothers and sisters in some of the best homes of San Francisco.
The alerts sound like they're from
Also about
the Symphony of the Night. Beautiful.
California giving shows in towns along the way. I danced. My brother Augustine recited poems. Elizabeth and Raymond joined in a little comedy we put together.
Did you get paid for it?
Yes, but hardly anything.
Pasta with all
Money
sorts
has
of different
never been a great
sauces.
supply during my life.
See, what I'd have to do is I'd have to route the Winamp audio through OBS instead of having it route through desktop. I think I can do that real quick. Watch this. This is going to take a second, but watch this.
Different houses because the money my mother was able to bring in from teaching piano was not enough to make ends meet.
Oh, that must have been terrible.
This is going to be...
Perhaps, but I must say I don't remember it that way.
Okay, this should fix it, hopefully. Give me a sec here.
Her spirits were so rich. Mother made sure of
Oh,
that.
that's not what I
When
want.
she arrived home from her daily round of lessons, she would play the piano for us and read from great books
Ooh.
and plays.
Running a little low
When
on
did you
product.
learn to dance?
Oh, from the trees, the leaves, and flowers.
No, really. You didn't have any lessons?
Oh, but Josie, I am being honest with you. I had lessons.
Okay, there we go. That should fix it.
But his lessons did
Uh,
not please me.
I just got to do one more thing. This is going to be a little bit pain in the ass.
He said because of the against you. Beautiful is a poppy fluttering about in the wind,
Okay.
marching into the
Let's hear it for Jimmy the Trucker.
There never are two dances the same.
Okay, that's so strange. It's not picking up American Truck Simulator now. I'm doing my best to stop the duplication.
I did not know just how it would be, but I felt that there was this invisible world of movement and beauty, which I might enter if only I could find the key.
Miss Duncan, people in theater all think you're awesome. But does it bother
Okay.
you that more, regular people don't come to see you? Especially in
Okay, I fixed it fully. Okay, thank you for your patience.
Good, strong,
I had to
after
change a
all,
few
take
things.
West,
It should be good
wild
now.
animals, and anything else you have to yourself.
Wait, I need a job. Why did I get back in my driver's
It's not
seat?
so good for the artist in ourselves.
Okay, let's find a job.
Artists need to be bold and wild and untamed. And even this is not enough.
All right. What I got in Fort?
Believers.
Where am I? Actually,
If you
where's
are blessed
this?
enough to have talent,
Where-
and if you are talented enough to invent forms of music or dance or art, you must expect criticism and ridicule. True inventiveness is terribly
Let's
hard
see
for people to
here.
understand. If you enjoy what you're doing, what
Can you
does it
can you
really
tell me the city I'm in, folks, please?
Oh, I don't know, Josie.
All
For
right.
almost 30 years,
I'll chose
nothing mattered to me more than dance.
no,
as a child.
no. That's not so
Looking down at
bad.
that beautiful baby girl, the blue eyes, the long
Dessa,
curls.
Abilene.
I wondered, oh, women, what good is it learning to become a lawyer, painter,
Oh
or
yeah,
sculptor?
no, I'm
This miracle exists.
no, you do
do I
need to
give
have a
for
strong
art
heart
when
if you're a
there's this
streamer.
life to give? Now I have a darling baby boy as well, and I feel as if I have it all.
Let's see, how about
2 years later, Isadora Duncan kissed her 2 children goodbye and sent them home with their nanny while she went on to rehearsal.
she gonna
The
die?
car stalled, and when the chauffeur got out to crank the engine, it jerked forward into the murky waters of the River Seine.
Oh
2
Jesus!
children and the nanny drowned.
Oh,
Isadora spent most of the next few days consoling
It just
her
seemed
friends.
like another sad case
Only when her
of
students
people
came to
killing
spread
each
white
other.
flowers all over her house and garden did she begin to cry. For
hmm.
months, Isadora could not bear to dance. Her her
All right, I'm
first
gonna
trip
choose a
away
San
from home was
Angelo
to
one since we're
Albania,
so
where
close.
she joined her brother and his
You know
wife
what?
to help starving
Why
children
not?
caught up in
Why
a
don't we
civil
make
war.
it to New Mexico
But
here?
eventually, Isadora returned to the thing she loved most. Against the wishes of friends and family, she moved to Russia with the hopes of starting yet another new school of dance. She was touring Europe to raise money for the school when she got into a convertible sports car.
It just
With
seemed
one
like
scarf
another
trailing
sad
behind
case
her.
of
The
people
scarf
killing
caught
each
on the
other.
spokes of the back wheel and twisted her neck back, killing her instantly. After her death, another famous dancer and choreographer named Agnes de Mille wrote, Isadora Duncan did not think, she felt. Because of this, she was not always sensible and often irresponsible. But it must never be forgotten that alone and unhelped, Isadora Duncan changed the direction of her entire profession. This is Josie Mayer with another turning point in world history.
Do. You feeling good, kids? Do you like learning about this Jesus? I love how, I don't love it, but I do love how grim this is. Let me know if you can hear the audio of the vehicle, by the way, or if the vehicle's too loud. Don't worry about it, kids.
You and your sister do practically everything together, except gymnastics, which is considered her thing, and her thing only. And one day you suggest you'd like to take
All right, chat. Real quick, I need you to let me know if you can hear the audio from the from the truck. I don't need to look it. Oh my God, we hit and run. Let's go. You didn't see anything, kids. Oh, you can hear it? Okay, I can honk. That wasn't the honk. That was the emergency brake. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Brian.
Truck?
Hi, Dave. I just heard on the radio that the lottery is up to $15 million.
Don't worry about it. I'm driving normal.
It is a big deal.
I don't know. I just went to my high school reunion, and all of my classmates filled out a questionnaire, and there was one question. What is your dream?
Yeah, Boomerang is grimdark highlights.
Winning the lottery. Money's important, I guess, but I think there are lots of things more valuable than money.
Like what? What's more valuable than money?
Like treasure, for instance.
Treasure is frequently turned into money. Shut up.
Well, she really had an Uncle Howie, but he traveled with the circus for 2 years. Where he
You don't
was
need to
in
call Mom.
Canada.
Mom doesn't need to know. Mom's fine.
Cannon. So, no, where was I? Oh yeah, Uncle Howitzer got real sick and he had to go to the hospital.
Jesus Christ,
For
Alex.
various reasons, he wasn't too popular with all of his relatives. He was divorced from his wife, and she wasn't too crazy about him. And not even his kids came to visit.
Wow, okay, this guy's going through some shit.
She went to see him every Saturday afternoon at the hospital. And one time Hannah asked.
All right, there's a thing over here. I want to do it.
Past the receptionist desk, the lady yelled that kids weren't allowed in the hospital all alone. Hannah looked back over her shoulder.
Hey kids, I found a Vista.
Oh, ma'am, we're not alone. My uncle is here at the hospital with us. Which, after all, was totally true. Uncle Howitzer was pretty bad.
Viewpoint.
All sorts of tubes stuck in him this way and that. Still, he smiled.
Yep, that's a trailer. Oh, it's a power plant. Okay.
Squeeze. She introduced me to him, and the three of us talked about Ernie Banks and Tarzan and fudge recipes, with Hannah doing most of the talking. I adopted Uncle Howitzer, and the two of us got to be Saturday morning regulars.
Very pretty.
One morning, we showed up at his room, and there was a lady with a broken leg in his bed.
What?
What did you do with Uncle Howitzer? Hannah asked crossly. The poor woman.
All right, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta do one thing real quick.
The nurse here in a hurry button.
Be right
The
back.
nurse showed up and told us Uncle Howitzer had been transferred. Transferred? Where? Hannah demanded. The nurse got the feeling Hannah wasn't the type to swallow an Easter Bunny story, and in a hushed voice she told us that Uncle Howie passed away the night before. Hannah was made out of rocks and nails, but the news got her face twitching into itself as if it were threatening to collapse into a cry. The nurse pulled an envelope out of her big pockets. He asked me to give you this. Hannah took the envelope, then tore off down the hallway, me trailing not too far behind. Any teeny bit of life Uncle Howitzer brought with him to the hospital was gone now, and we put as much distance as possible between us and all those white uniforms. Hannah and I didn't stop running till we came to the bridge over Mosquito Creek. We leaned back against the cement wall, panting like a couple of mutts. Suddenly I was closing my eyes. Hannah gave me a brave smile and a shrug, then pulled the envelope out of her shirt. She held it up against the sky with both hands,
Hey,
making one final offering.
I'm back. I forgot to turn the mic off, but you didn't hear me, right, kids? Good. Okay.
$20, it could be a batch of grocery coupons.
Yeah, Dad just needed to make a pit stop because Dad had too much kombucha.
The ancient-looking envelope was an ancient piece of paper with creases in it that seemed like they had been ironed in.
All right, let's go.
It was a bunch of drawings.
Truck car? Don't even tempt me. I'm a bad driver.
It said C1, C2, and C3. There was an oak tree and an elm tree, and then there were some numbers and a line that said cut next to it. Of course, none of this made any sense to us, and we didn't know what it was. But we know what we wanted it to be.
What?
A map.
Do you want C4 like the energy drink?
My gaze met Hannah's, and for a
I wish these had convenience stores you could go into and get like drinks and stuff.
universe. In 5 more seconds, I was on my feet. Where are you going, Shield? Lincoln Street. Lincoln's a long street. I'm going to where Hoy and Lincoln cross like it shows on the map. But where's Hoy? Hannah yelled. Beats me, I said. We'll just ride up and down Lincoln till we find it. No! Hold it, Shield. We have to do this right.
No problem. Thank you for the 11-month resub. Kombucha Dad Truckers only on the History Channel. Thank you.
She did it all.
I want to team up with the Swamp People. Does anybody remember the show Swamp People?
Lots of
These guys were cool. They were in the swamp.
Back to my garage and started throwing everything we could possibly need for a serious treasure hunting expedition into our wagon. 2 shovels, a post hole digger, binoculars, compass, bug spray, buck knife, rope, lucky horse chestnut.
Thank you. Swamp People was like the peak of reality TV to me.
For night work, and after much discussion, borrowed Dad's Geiger counter. Hannah and I didn't know exactly what a Geiger counter was.
Like Danny was into what was it? Duck Dynasty, and I was a Swamp People guy.
To look for this particular treasure.
Just gonna drive in the shoulder here. Don't worry about it.
At the top of a stick taped to the wagon. We made 2 squares on the grave.
Oh, there's no speed limit here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you love the ducks. I love the alligators. They were always hunting alligators on Swamp People.
The wagon and set out for points unknown. A corner of Hoy and Lincoln. We've got an expedition.
Holy shit!
Be silver jewels or gold doubloons.
Original song.
Map and a mission. There's no simple pleasure like looking for treasure.
Yeah, sorry to all alligator furries out there. I think alligator is delicious. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Lincoln all across town, we didn't come across a street called anything even like Hoy, and we decided we had to break rule number 2 by asking someone about this Hoy Street. Hannah said old people know just about everything, and being as how Irma Fitzpatrick was the oldest person either one of us knew, and that we were only a block away from her house, we paid her a visit. Irma knew about Hoy Street all right, but she wasn't about to tell us until we told her where we were going with flashlight caps and a wagon full of shovels and Geiger counters. Irma, being a harmless old lady, I forgot all about rule number 2 and gushed out some stuff about Uncle Howitzer and a treasure map before Hannah jumped in with an entirely different story on top of mine about some silly scavenger.
All right, don't turn, dude. I'm a big old truck and I can't drive.
Years ago. But as we backed down her sidewalk, I could feel her squinty eyes working us all over. We retraced our steps back up Lincoln Street to Pleasant, and it was only then that it began to sink in just what kind of challenge was ahead of us. We counted 29 houses on Lincoln between Pleasant and the next street, but there were only 4 boxes on the map. Those boxes didn't look like
All right,
any of the
let's
houses we
turn.
saw. Why did 3 of the box houses on the map have those C1, C2, and C3s? And why would Uncle Howard want us
There
to
we
cut
go.
along that one line? Maybe we should ask Kent Cooney, I said. He lives on Lincoln Street. Maybe he would know. Better yet, maybe we should ask his grandfather.
I didn't know that Knobles had gator nuggets. That's good. I need that.
Mad at me on account of rule number 2, which I was forgetting again. Then suddenly she looked all unmad again. Well, where does Kent's grandfather live, she asked. Oh, he lives just 2 houses away from Kent. And Kent's uncle lives in the house on the other side of him. Isn't that weird? My dad calls it Cooney Street. You said his name was Kent Cooney, right? How do you spell Cooney? With a C or with a K? With a... Before I even got to the C, I understood where Hannah was going. There were 3 houses with C's on our map. Kent Cooney's house, his grandpa's house, and his uncle's house.
All right, let's see what I gotta get.
One abandoned un-Cooney house sandwiched in between, maybe. We ran full blast down Lincoln Hill.
Do I want to go to, man, California?
This way. It's the way kids
Fuck it. Kids? You ever want to go to LA?
Sure,
Why don't we go to LA, kids? Oh, we could go to Oregon. No, that's too much. I think LA is good for us. Kids, we're hitting LA. I'll take you to Knott's Berry Farm. That sound good?
There's the oak tree.
All right, where's my trailer?
Elm disease, I said. It's been killing all the elms in town. Look, there's a stump. I'll bet that's it. I dug the compass out of my pocket, and we ran over to the stump. Hannah read directions.
Will Shaq be at Knott's Berry Farm?
Oh,
God, it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Where
It's
is
fine.
due east? It's just like east, I think. But north is the only way the compass points. Hannah rolled her eyes. It says north is that way, right? Well, that's north and that's south. That's west.
Gotta
This
turn
is
around.
east. Oh, I get it.
Elvira is probably more likely to be there than Shaq. They did an Elvira thing, I want to say, last year as well.
No figuring on that one. Hannah continued.
Okay.
Turned to look at the oak tree and spit. The spit marks a spot. We could
Almost.
see the oak tree all right, but Hannah and I had a little disagreement about how far to spit. Her wanting to spit as far as possible and me wanting to spit just kind of normal. So we both spit and marked the place right between with the horse chestnut. It was just about this time that we saw Irma Fitzpatrick.
Oh, God. It's cool.
Coincidence?
It's fine. I know what I'm doing.
Hannah took out her yo-yo as if we were just kind of hanging out, and Mrs. Fitzpatrick sat down on the steps of the cut-through, like she had a stone in her shoe or something. For the next 15 minutes, Mrs. Fitzpatrick dug for stones in her shoe, and Hannah did every yo-yo trick in the book.
It's fine.
We decided to call it a day. Irma was on to us. It was just too risky. We agreed to meet here in the morning at 6:30.
Got it. That's actually one of my best times. Enjoy dinner.
Silver jewels or gold doubloons. We've got a map and a mission. There's no single pleasure like looking for treasure.
No, this is a very strange story. Do I need to switch my... There we go. There we go. Beautiful. All right, this is my longest trip ever in this game. Why did I do that? Oh, 50% damage. That's not good. Fuck.
Hannah was nice enough not to unload on me right then and there about spilling the beans to the busiest busybody in town. She had
Shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Oh.
20 minutes later, a deal was negotiated. What negotiated means was that if we gave them the map,
Yeah, we only need 3 wheels for LA. I'll arrive in LA in a recumbent tricycle.
treasure chest, and we would get the rest. Uncle Howitzer's ex-wife said that was being generous, seeing as how her ex-husband
Look left.
obviously tried to hide
Look
his
right.
fortune away
Okay, we're good.
And the man who owned the land thought that was being generous too, seeing as how the fortune was buried in his land and rightfully belonged to him. And his lawyer
Nobody approach. Good.
a whole lot anyway, and we wouldn't get a plug nickel, whatever that was. And the lawyer for Mrs. X Howitzer
It's fine.
was going to get a certain amount of whatever she did. Didn't say anything.
We exchanged info. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Scowling her best nasty scowl, Hannah pulled the map out of her shirt, and in no time at all, Uncle Howitzer's lawyer
I'm going to Shoptown. We didn't need a mirror. Kids, you just tell me if there's someone coming up, right? Just stick your head out.
Digger started digging and digging and digging.
Okay.
Of course, Hannah and I could
Pizza
see they were
House.
digging a long way from the horse chestnut, and they would have dug down to Hong Kong if Hannah hadn't stepped up and said they were digging in the wrong place, and that we would tell them where the right
Yeah,
place
we
was,
told the truck
and
not
they
to
would
come
let us
over.
do the digging and give
Anybody
us
want to eat at prime rib?
Reluctantly, they agreed, and Hannah walked off the distance with her paces instead of a grown-up's, and ended up on the horse chestnut. After all, Uncle Howitzer had been about our age when he buried the treasure. We only had to dig for about 5 minutes before our shovel hit something tinny sounding. And in
Tiddy sound? Tinny. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, what does that sound like, dude?
The grounds owner was the first one to scream, and it wasn't a happy scream. In fact, it included all sorts of words that I had only heard from Uncle Bill before. He walked away yelling at poor old Mrs. Fitzpatrick, who gave us a hard glare before she left. The lawyers walked away shaking their heads, and finally, ex-Mrs. Uncle Howitzer's wife turned to us and muttered, "Just like that uncle of yours."
I'm fine.
Hannah and I waited till she got into her car and then scrambled up to the box. There were 5 Puri marbles, 2 of them boulders. There were 2 old steel pennies and 1 Indian head. There was a book of valuable-looking green stamps that had the letters S and H on them. There were some old plastic army men, 2 tiny records with a big hole in them, a stack of baseball cards, and a rock which was all glittery inside. We couldn't figure for the life of us why the grown-ups were
It's a normal cassette. I don't listen to those horny trucker cassettes.
better than we had
They're not gay enough.
We split it up 50-50, with me getting the army men and Hannah getting the rock. Then we went home and we gathered up our own treasure and buried it in my backyard. Up, Lord Boomerang.
Hey,
What?
Dave, do you still have the map?
Sure, come on over to my house sometime and we'll look for it. But leave your lawyer at home.
What time is it? What's the matter? Oh, what time is it? Oh, it's that time again.
What time?
It's time for weird words.
No, I'm not asleep at the wheel. I had too much. I had a lot of caffeine. I had like a McCafe, and then a Wendy's coffee, and then a coffee from Buc-ee's,
I'm sure you remember how to
and then
play
a
the game.
7-Eleven
I'm
coffee.
going to give you a word, but you have to give it back. Just kidding. I'm going to give you a word and 2 definitions. Only one
Okay.
of those definitions is correct. When you've made your choice, please push your belly button. Word number 1, glower. 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 Now, tell me, kids, is a glower A, the extra hour people in Greenland receive every 242 years, or B, a verb meaning to stare with an angry frown? Philip Wire from
It's
Laurel,
fine. I'm not
Maryland
gonna run into
says
that Kia.
A, a glower is an extra hour for Greenland.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry, Philip. Glower means to
Philip,
stare
you're a
with
clown,
an angry
man.
frown. Oh, I'm ashamed of you, Philip. For all you kids not watching on your CD-ROM version of Boomerang, I am glowering at Philip.
There's
with
a
all of my
CD-ROM
bushy
version of
eyebrows.
Boomerang?
Word number
Chat.
2 is fatuous.
I am now on a mission. A mission from God.
F-A-T-U-S. Fatuous. Now, tell me, boomers, is fatuous A, the description of a man or woman weighing more than 400 pounds, or B, an adjective meaning foolish and silly? Well, Nell Crandall from Durham, North Carolina says fatuous is an adjective meaning silly. Congratulations, Nell.
Speed up,
Would you
Kia.
think
You're
me
going too slow,
fatuous if I
Kia.
went like this? I didn't think so.
Hey, no!
Word number 3, cricket. P-R-I-C-K-E-T. Pricket. Now, tell me, boomers, is
That guy
cricket
tried to cut
A,
me off.
a sharp
That guy
instrument
tried to
used
cut
by
me off.
knees to
That's the
break
problem.
balloons, or B,
You're fine.
a
You have
male
your
deer
seatbelts on,
between
kids.
1 and 2 years old.
Let's
Megan Garvey
visit
from
service
Sacramento,
immediately.
California
You don't
says
say.
a cricket
Yeah, tow to
is
service.
B. A male deer between 1 and 2 years old. My goodness, Megan, you know your deer
You're
all
all
right.
fine.
That
You've got
is correct.
You've got your
Maybe the new
seatbelts on.
sequel to Bambi will be
Where
called
am I?
Crickets
It
in the
just seemed like
Thickets.
another sad case of
And
people
finally,
killing each other.
our weirdest word, cowlick. C-O-W-L-I-C-K. Cowlick. Now, tell me, boomers, for our
Oh,
weirdest
Total
prize,
Restoration is one.
a
I don't have
cowlick
that money.
A, a tuft of
right,
hair
that's
standing
fine.
up on one's head.
Gives me a
or
chance to
B,
drink some
a
kombucha.
piece of taffy placed in the barnyard, which cows lick to get the nasty taste of alfalfa out of their mouth. Derek Denko from Cheyenne, Wyoming
I
says
do think this is
a
my favorite
cowlick is
kombucha.
a tuft of hair
really good.
standing up on one's head.
This and the strawberry basil kombucha.
Congratulations, Derek!
Anyway,
well,
children,
golly,
you're
Derek
fine.
is from Wyoming, so he must know that the only way to get alfalfa out of your
Now,
mouth
how do I get
is
out
to
of here?
gargle with strawberry jello and then go.
I guess I should use this opportunity to get gas.
Ted, what do we have for Derek today? Well, Derek, you are now the proud owner of a 50-pound tin of cowlick juice. This cowlick is a secret concoction of pine tar, saliva, and banana slug slime.
Sounds
guaranteed to mash
disgusting.
down even the most determined cowlick. Congratulations,
God, that's such a
Derek.
pain in the ass. Okay, I'll be able to turn in, don't worry.
Together. Until next time, this is Freddie Finkelheimer saying so long. Until next time.
All right, just turn around
What's
here.
the big idea? Man went to the doctor because he was having trouble recognizing certain things. He recognized circles and squares and triangles just fine, and he identified different faces on a deck of cards, but his descriptions were cold and mechanical. When he was shown a rose, he described it as a convoluted red form about 6 inches long with a
All
linear
right.
green attachment.
We're taking a little stop at the
When
gas
examination
station.
was
Everybody,
over, he started to
get
look for his
your
hat.
beaver
He
nuggets.
reached over and grabbed his wife's head and tried to lift it off. He'd mistaken his wife's head for a hat.
The human brain is one amazing hunk of tissue. We are used to our minds doing so much, so well, so quickly, that when it misfires, we don't know quite what to do. My name is Michelle Tom.
And
Hi,
I'm
Michelle.
complicated stuff. In this segment, we're going to take a look into the human brain.
Hold it. I thought we were tackling the mind.
Okay, mind, brain. What's the difference?
Whoa!
Well, a brain
Kids,
is the
there's
big
someone
glob of
working
nerve
over
cells and
here.
fibers all stuffed into our noggin that
Look at
coordinates our
them.
muscles and allows us
guys,
to think.
good job.
The brain is something you can actually take out.
I wish I
and look
remembered
at.
what the horn button was.
Yeah, they found Albert Einstein's brain in a freezer in Kansas City.
See you, October. Thanks for showing up.
Scout's honor. Scientists later did tests on it and discovered it wasn't any larger than an average
I forgot
brain.
what the horn
The part
honking
that
button
does
is. Is it
mathematical
enter?
calculations was more developed.
It's not enter.
Ugh, you don't think they're
It's
going
H?
to want to do that to my brain, do you?
I don't
It's
think you
H.
have
Thank
to worry
you,
about it,
chat.
kid.
Next time I see
Now
someone,
let's
I'll
get to
honk
the
at them
mind.
angrily.
It kind of exists in the brain. We consider it to be the center of thought and reasoning, but it's more something we talk about than something we can actually see.
I don't need a
Mind
driveway,
stuff is
right,
too
kids?
fuzzy for me. Let's start
Yeah,
with
this
the
is
brain.
fine.
A typical brain weighs just over 3 pounds, almost half a pound more than your great-great-grandfather's.
Have you been looking in our freezer?
What I mean is,
I'm just
Michelle,
taking
that our brains are growing
all
bigger.
lanes of traffic here.
Oh, and one other interesting tidbit.
What,
I
kid?
understand that men's brains weigh a few ounces more than women's brains.
That's not true.
Right, you are, King. However, you may be interested to know that women's brains are larger than men's compared to the size of our bodies. And none of it really
Drakes?
matters anyway, because the size of
I guess
the
that
brain
guy had to
doesn't
go
have
into a new
anything to do
business
with
after
how
that
smart
song
you
came
are.
out.
At the top of your neck is a bulge called the cerebellum. It is the control center for all your muscles that allow you to dash across the grass, then stop to pick up a leaf. It gives us the coordination to get the glass of grape juice to our lips without spilling. Some of us, anyway.
It's an old stain, King. Higher up in our skull
This way.
is the cerebrum. 50 million years ago, this part was puny. All it did was provide enough smell, sight, and sound for our ancestors to find food and escape enemies. As they began to reason and develop memory, an extra layer called a cortex began to develop. The smarter we got, the bigger
What
the
did I
cortex
hit?
got,
What
until
did
it
I
was
even
getting bigger than
hit?
our skull.
Fuck you. Sorry.
That was the stuff
I
coming out
probably
of
should have
my
been paying
ears this
attention.
morning.
It's fine.
I don't think so. What happened was the cortex started folding over, kind of like a fan.
Weird.
Today it's only about as thick as a popsicle stick, but if you unfolded all the layers, it would be about as big as a newspaper.
The cerebrum is divided into 2 halves. That
Okay.
people call the right brain and the left brain. Each side specializes in certain tasks. In most people, the left brain
Just
is for
adjusting.
reading, writing,
It's fine.
reasoning, math, and logic.
Jeepers, that doesn't leave much for the right brain to do.
Yeah, pretty much all it has to do is remember when it's time to go to the bathroom. Just kidding. No, the right brain blends information together and makes decisions. It's
Oh.
in charge of making us laugh at jokes and causing us to cry when bad stuff happens. gives us our sense of
I'm slowing
color
down to
and
let this
rhythm.
truck in. I'm
Most
trying to
of us
drive
seem
normal.
To favor our right or left brain, but remember, they do work together. When you sing a song, one side does the music, one does the words.
No,
Real
really?
geniuses make equal use of both sides of the brain. Leonardo da Vinci was not only creative, but he was also a math whiz. Albert Einstein was known to be a brainy kind of guy, but he said his gift of fantasy was more important to him in his work.
The man at the beginning of the story who tried to take his wife's head off seemed to be leading a normal life. He was a music teacher who walked to school and could play the piano beautifully. He had no trouble seeing things, but a part of his brain was damaged that helps people take what they see and
Oh, yeah,
translate
that
into
pinball
things
stream was
they
really
know and
good.
recognize.
That gray blob of gunk called the brain is made up of cells called neurons. When we're
Neurons,
born,
huh?
we have 1 trillion of them. As we go along in life, they die off. Some die a natural death. Others get murdered with drugs and alcohol.
Oh.
Each neuron is like a tiny computer that can send and receive 50,000 messages every minute.
Kids don't do
Because
drugs.
we have so many neurons, and they can
It
each
just
send
seems like
so many
another sad
messages.
case
What would
of people
happen
killing
if
each
all
other.
your neurons kicked in at once? How many connections would your brain make?
Oh, let me guess. 100 billion.
We, King. Try 1 followed by 6,213,710 miles of typewritten zeros.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and the scientist who figured this out thinks this number might be low.
I don't get it, Michelle. I mean, as brainy as I am, I don't feel that I'm thinking that many things.
That shows how well our brain does the job. It does so many things without us even knowing. Here, raise your hand up and spread your fingers.
No.
Okay, you just used 30 different joints and 50 different muscles. All of those joints and muscles need to be told what to do. That's a lot of messages and information for something you don't even have to think about. Imagine what happens when you're thinking really hard.
No.
Maybe that's what the reticular activating system is for.
Right, King.
I get no respect. Well, boomers, I'll have you know there is such a thing called a reticular activating system. Our brains are capable of sending so many messages that we need something to sort them all out. To prove my point, I'm going to show Michelle here what life would be like without an RAS. You see, every issue of Boomerang, I get 1 stroke of fantasy to prove a point. In this story,
What's with
I'm gonna
Bolero
throw an
again?
Imaginary off-on switch to Michelle's RAS.
Sorry, I was watching something else where they were
Hey,
playing Bolero,
Michelle,
and I was like, what the fuck?
Why don't you just sit down here for a moment and relax?
Okay, I don't like this, King.
Now you feel okay, all right?
Sure.
Okay, let's give Michelle a little dose of reality.
What? Huh? Wow.
I guess she's had enough.
Whoa, what the heck was that?
You tell me, Michelle.
The sound was like someone was pressing every key of the piano at once. I could see all these colors and things crawling everywhere. It was like everything happening all at the same time.
Young lady, it sounds like you've had a temporary interruption of your reticular activating system.
So there
Yeah, I was
really
gonna
is
say,
an-
did you give her drugs?
Yep. It's a section of your brain about the size of your pinky finger, and it does 2 very important things. Remember, your brain has all these messages zipping along at 100
I don't
want to
inspect.
RAS allows the brain to tune out information we're picking out from our senses we don't really need. Let's say you're taking a test at
All right,
school.
kids,
You
toss
don't need
the
to get
illegal
Cindy
watermelons
Schroeder
out of the
in your
window.
throat. You don't need to smell Dick Tambone's stinky socks. You
All
don't
right,
need to see
toss
the kid in
them.
front of you scratching his ear. These are all bits of information pouring in from your senses, but the RAS somehow decides the test is what's really important. It filters out all the other information and allows you to concentrate on who discovered the Indian Ocean. The RAS does something else too, a job usually performed by a good secretary. It sorts out all the messages coming in and decides which one you have to
They
pay
want me to have a
attention first.
better vehicle.
Let's say you're
not
going
happening.
across the street to get a popsicle at the ice cream truck. You're deciding about what flavor you feel like. You're thinking about the book you're reading. You're listening to the ice cream music and to the screeching tires of a car about to run you over. The
No, I
RAS
don't wanna be run
immediately
over.
decides the book plot and popsicle selection can wait. It sends the ice cream truck music to the back of your mind, and flashes an urgent message in big neon lights. Get out of the way!
We're still pretty ignorant about the mind and how it works, but science has made some progress. And as scientists learn more about the mysteries of the human brain, they funnel that research into trying to teach computers to think. This field is called artificial intelligence, and 30 years ago, they had high hopes. For example, in a 1965 book, one of these experts predicted that within 20 years, machines will be capable of doing any work that a man can do.
Ha! Boy, was he wrong. Computers do a lot of things well, but thinking isn't one of them. Unlike humans, computers don't learn other things along the way while they're learning something else. And how do you teach a computer what we call common sense?
Scientists had no idea how amazing the human brain was until they tried to get a computer to beat a human in a game of chess. Oh, some computer programs can beat most people, but not the grand masters. Why? For one thing,
What
the
about
human
Big
mind
Blue?
can make judgments in an instant that take even the fastest computers a good deal of time. Computers play chess by examining every possible move on the board and what all the possible moves might be if you move this piece or that. That's like reading a book and having to look every single word up in the dictionary to figure out its meaning. Then having to
Thank you,
diagram
Carmen, for
every
the 100
sentence to
bits.
see
We're
how the
on a
words
great
are
cat
pieced together.
convoy crossing
Everything a computer
USA
knows has to be programmed in by a
convoy.
human. But humans do things without knowing why sometimes. It's called instinct. Most of us know how to
We're
ride
in
a bike.
Pecos,
But
Texas.
have you ever tried to teach someone to ride a bike? How do you describe the feeling of falling over as different from the normal bit of imbalance?
You can recognize your puppy's bark, but could you describe it to someone else?
Bark.
Computers don't have much of an imagination either. Okay, imagine a chair with a
Cool,
books in it.
Texas. Look at
Now
that,
I'm going to
kids.
move the chair.
Yeah,
book.
that's cool.
It
Nice.
moves with
Oh,
it.
God, okay, no.
How do you know?
It's fine, it's fine, it's
I don't
fine,
know.
it's fine, it's
I
fine.
just have this picture in my mind.
Right. Computers may have pictures in their memory, but they can't learn from those pictures. Okay, now I tell you that the book is tied by a string to the wall. What will happen when I move the chair?
The book will fall off when you move the chair. I mean, I just see it happening.
You see it happening because you've had experiences like this in the past, and you can say it will probably happen again.
Not probably, for sure, unless the string breaks.
Exactly. For a computer to figure out those answers, I would have to program in the size and weight of the chair, size and weight of the book, gravity, friction, and the strength of the string, and how each is affected by the movements. All to come up with an answer the human mind can figure out instantly.
A superior human mind.
Oh yeah, of course.
Now you'd expect memory to be something computers are good at. After all, they even sell computers by the amount of memory they have.
That's
But
true.
here, once again, humans make computers look absolutely stupid. Think of
That's
all the
right,
stuff my
computers
grandpa
eat
did in
shit.
his life. All those memories are crammed together somewhere up in his head. Yet when someone mentions a fish they caught, it doesn't take more than a second for Grandpa to dip into his memory and pull out details of the fishing trip he took to South Dakota 22 years ago.
A computer takes 10 times as long to figure out what it doesn't know.
Huh?
If you ask a computer what year Richard Nixon was born, it would have to go through its entire database to see if it had that information. Me? I know what I don't know. I don't have any idea when he was born, and no amount of thinking is going to come up with the answer. That may not seem like a valuable ability, but it sure saves a lot of time.
Sure does.
So what does this all mean? I mean, what is smart anyway?
It's something you measure with an intelligence test. These are special tests with all sorts of weird questions designed to measure how smart you are with language, math, and logic compared to other people your age. The score you make on these tests is called your IQ, or intelligence quotient, and schools sometimes use these tests to place you in certain classes. Some people brag about their IQ, that theirs is higher than someone else's, as if it's a badge of honor.
But there are lots of problems with IQ tests. For example, some have multiple choice questions. If you guess at answers you don't know, you might be lucky or unlucky. And luck shouldn't have anything to do with intelligence. Plus, some of the questions assume everyone has the same experiences when we all have different ways of looking at life and thinking.
In the months ahead, we'll take a deeper look into thought and creativity. We'll talk about ESP, dreams, hypnosis, and other mysteries of the mind.
Depending on who you believe, we only use between 6% and 20% of our brain capacity. The next time you run into a problem, before you say, I can't do it, you might want to give it another try.
And that's the big idea.
Okay, kid, I will.
Hello, Boomers. It's time for all the news that happened while you were asleep. Finally, someone has invented something to help everyone with elephants cut their toenails. Wait, did I say that right? Todd Ricketts of Springfield, Missouri has invented a machine that flips elephants on their side and restrains them while you work on their toenails. He has already sold
It's
5
fine,
gadgets
it's
to
fine.
zoos for 10 grand
I just have to check.
The big question is,
It's
what
fine.
kind of guy goes to bed at night thinking about how to make it easier to trim the toenails of pachyderms?
It's fine.
Have you guys voted yet? Nah, not for politicians. I mean the important stuff. Like what kind of new color should
Okay,
M&Ms come
I
in?
just had to answer a phone message
If you want
chat.
pink,
It's fine.
purple, or blue M&Ms, you can pick up a ballot at any place that sells the candy and vote for the color of your choice. If you think they should stick with the colors they have, you can do that too. I wonder if they have anything on the
Let
ballot
me
about putting
in!
more
You
M&Ms
little
in.
shits, let me through! We're at the trucks.
Try this
We're
one
not
at
gonna
home,
let you
kids.
pass.
10-year-old Cody McCann
Son of a-
told his parents he hadn't opened his bedroom window when he really
What?
had. All of his
What is your
privileges were
fucking
suspended.
problem?
No allowance, no TV, no visiting friends, no guests, no nothing. When Cody complained, his stepfather said he should take it up with the governor. So Cody wrote to Governor Mel Carnahan asking for a pardon. A few days later, a fax came back. Pardon granted. So did Cody get off the hook at home?
Okay, I'm fine.
Sure. Hey, they were impressed. Scientists think that they are on the trail of a giant sloth in the Amazon jungle, thought to be extinct for over 8,000 years. The beast supposedly
Everything's
stands
okay.
6 feet tall and weighs over 60
I just had to
pounds.
answer a phone message
It's said to
IRL
roar
real
like a
quick.
monster and pack the nastiest smell.
I'm in
this
Van
size of a
Horn.
brother's feet.
Speaking of horns.
Yeah, but when they find it, how are they going to cut its toenails? 10-year-old Vinay Bhatt from San Jose, California, became the youngest player to attain the U.S. Chess Federation ranking of Master. Vinay was born into an
Ron.
immigrant family from India. His mother started teaching him to play chess when he was 4, and he started beating her soon after. Finally, Boomers, you'll be enchanted to know that scientists now believe they can grow tiny little cauliflowers on plants other than cauliflowers. Scientists discovered mutant genes that make cauliflower plants produce cauliflowers instead of regular
Banshee, thank you for the
and they believe they
follow.
can get other plants to produce them as well. So next time Mom says you have to eat your cauliflower, ask if you can wait till they come up with the strawberry variety. Jessica Strome with your news update, telling you if you don't like the news, go out and make some of your own.
Don't encourage people to make their own news in this world.
The right thing. Do the right thing. Do the
I'm Eleanor Wiki. I'm 11 years old, and I live
Give
in
me a second to pull
Carlsbad,
over.
California. If my sister was doing gymnastics, and I wanted to too, but she really didn't want me to, I would probably do something like gymnastics, like
All right, kid.
horseback riding.
Dad's gotta put on his jester outfit. Give me a second.
I'm Dan. I'm 12 years old from Philadelphia. Now, I probably wouldn't pick up gymnastics, probably do it herself.
Hi, my name is Molly, and I'm 7 years old, and I live in New York City. And if I was that girl, I would say, well, I don't have to take this class, but I'll just go and take another class because it's not all yours.
Fiddle the ass, I'll take another class. I get to drive. Ooh, la-di-da.
And I'm 10 years old.
Set me out on the freeway.
Michigan.
Yes, children of mine. If you don't like the news, why don't you create your own news? Blow up a target. I don't care. I have no supervision of my children. They can do whatever they want. I'm unschooling them by asking them to blow up stores.
Tomato paste.
Tomato paste?
What did the sea say to the sand?
Nothing, it waved.
My kind of content.
Why did the elephant paint the bottoms of his feet yellow?
Because he's a freak.
So he could float upside down in a jar of mustard without anybody seeing it.
the difference between a prune and an Easter bunny? Both purple except for the Easter bunny.
What did one wall say to the other? Meet you at the corner. What kind of clothing lasts the longest? Underwear, because it's never worn out.
Those laughing noises is what happens when I tell my beautiful jokes. They laugh. Oh God! No, 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 no!
Duck. I was already lying down in the back seat of the car, but when I heard Gramps shout, I covered my head just to be
Don't
safe.
tell your mother.
A few seconds passed, and I didn't hear any crashing sounds. I carefully raised my head to see us pulling into the parking lot of a corner grocery. Duck what, Gramps? Gramps laughed. Not duck what, I mean duck. We're here. He pulled out the map and stuck his finger on what looked like a strand of thread hanging off
How
the
did
coast of
we
North Carolina.
survive, Chad?
See? Nag's Head, Kill Devil Hill, Kitty Hawk, and voila, good old duck. We'll stock up on supplies and bed down here for a day or two, and then make our way up to Carothers.
Yeah,
That
Justice
is,
can't
if we can
drive.
get
That's
there from
they
here.
don't allow us to have
Inside the
driver's
store, Gramps
licenses.
loaded up the cart
Oh
with
my
potato
God.
chips, Dove bars,
I
and
almost
believe it or
ran us
not,
into a
5-pound
train. That's
bag
not
of
good.
Chicken necks. Chips and ice cream, okay, but chicken necks? The lady at the checkout counter smiled. Ooh, I know what you're having for dinner. Gramps rubbed his belly. You wouldn't happen to know Jan Hubbard by chance? The lady laughed and said, She's only my mother. Hold on, I'll get you the key to the cabin. There are some days I swear Gramps and the rest of the world speak a different language. I've learned by now just to keep my mouth shut and hang on for the ride. Before I knew it, Gramps had a key in one hand and the steering wheel in the other. I was in charge of reading off house names as we slowly drove down Sanderling Street. Snow geese, sea tern, the dunes. Numbers may make houses easier to find, but names are definitely more fun. Pink flamingo. Hey, there it is. Gramps swerved
Hey,
into
I've
a
seen
graveled
this
driveway
before.
and
That's
smiled.
the
Some cabin.
That's
This was
the
no cabin.
teepee
It was a
motel. I've heard of
mansion.
them.
I didn't know how Gramps managed to get this place for 2 days, but I wasn't asking. We each had our own room, and there were lots left over. Even a room just for the ping pong table. Almost all of them had big glass doors with a deck looking out at the ocean. Come on, get your bathing suit on. Let's catch some waves. Boy, was I glad we didn't know anybody. Gramps was all decked out in a big wide-brimmed straw hat that used to be my grandmother's, wacky sunglasses, and neon swimming trunks.
Grandpa sounds
He
cool.
claims they still fit from his lifeguard days in college. Not. The sand was H-O-T hot. Hot enough to burn the bottoms of your feet off. I collapsed backwards, and in 2 minutes I was lulled to sleep by a lullaby of crashing waves and seagulls. Suddenly, I heard Gramps' voice from what seemed like a million miles away. Pelican Patrol, he shouted. I opened my eyes to see a giant V in the sky above me. They looked like the prehistoric flying creatures you'd see in dinosaur books, or better yet, the Blue Angels flying team. The first one in the formation dipped down within inches of the waves, and the rest of the squadron followed right
Fiddle
behind.
they go, the angels are blue, the classic Blue Angels. Chad, have any of you ever seen the Blue Angels?
One after another.
Children of mine, my terrible children, have you seen them?
They reformed into a V and circled back for a round of applause. Gramps checked the red strip on his arm where a watch usually is. Looks like crabbing time, young lady. We trudged back up to the house where Gramps grabbed a bag of potato chips and a bunch of raw chicken and a roll of string. This time we walked in the other direction, away from the beach, and across the road towards what Gramps called the Currituck Sound. I didn't know what Curritucks were, all I could hear was birds. But Gramps seemed to know what noise he was talking about. Turns out, Gramps wasn't talking
El
about a noise
Paso,
at all.
Chat!
A sound is an inlet of water, protected from the waves and wind. We walked out onto this rickety old wooden pier, where people sat
When I was
staring out
growing
into
up,
the
I
water
always
at
thought the
the end of
Blue
their
Angels would be
dangling
more of a
strings.
thing.
When I asked Gramps what they were looking for, he said, Dinner, now hold this. He handed me a chicken neck while he tied a piece of string around it and started singing to the music of the Hokey Pokey. You tie the string around and drop it in the water, that's what it's all about. He tossed it into the water and we started doing some stairs of our own.
After a few quiet minutes, Gramps handed me the string, saying I might have better luck. Now, if you feel anything, whatever you do, don't jerk the line. Just pull it slowly towards you. And I interrupted him. Gramps, I feel something. That's when Gramps remembered he forgot the net. I pulled the string toward me.
You forgot the net, Grandpa!
There on the end of the line, about 1.5 feet away from me, a huge blue crab tearing away at the chicken. I was just about to scream when a boy my age stuck a net under it and brought it into the pier. That's a monster, he said. I brought my luckiest
I want a monster crab.
with me, and I haven't caught one that big.
I want
His
crab.
name is Jed, and Jed was all
I
out
need
of chicken
crab.
necks. So for the next 2 hours, we worked as a team. Me working the string, and Jed handling the net. All the while, Gramps sat back against a pier, eating potato chips and mimicking bird calls. That night, we spread a big newspaper out on the kitchen table, and Jed brought his folks and a load of corn over. We boiled
Let's
the
go to
crab in some
Juarez,
spices.
chat.
Then, using the
Chat, would you like to go to Juarez?
Over the newspaper and dug out the rich white meat inside. Jed's family was one of the few that lived here year-round.
Let's go to one of those
They offered to
Costco's
pick
in
me up in the
Mexico.
morning for a
They've
trip
got
out to the lighthouse
they've
to
got
see the wild ponies that live there on the reserve.
bulk barbacoa there, I
Wild
hear.
Ponies. Between the light, sweet-smelling breeze coming through the window, dreams of wild ponies, and what felt like a little bit of magic, I hardly slept an hour that night. At dark 30, I pulled a groggy Gramps out of bed to see a luscious orange ball raising up out of the ocean. We took a run on the beach, went swimming, had breakfast, and cleaned up the dishes, and still had to wait for 8 o'clock to come around. It arrived about the same time as Jed's family. We jumped into their big Range Rover and set off down the road with Jed's dad pointing out all the houses he'd helped build along the way. Before long, there were no houses to be seen, just bare dunes and scrub, and a place reserved for birds called Pine Island.
Pine Island.
Pony. This is definitely where I would hang out. Once we got past the lighthouse, it was wild, deserted, but deliciously so. As if we were perched on the edge of the world out here, the lighthouse showing the way back for those who might step too far. I guess some people might think this place is lonely, but I felt right at home. Like my hair was woven in with the marsh grasses flowing back and forth in the breeze. Then I heard it, a soft whinny muffled by the breeze. I looked up to see a small white pony perched on top of a grassy dune.
What?
Down below.
Well, where'd the pony come from,
galloped
child?
along the beach, snorting at funny little birds with legs like circus stilts. Jed and I looked at each other and giggled. In an instant, both the colt and its mother were gone. Jed says that's just the way it is here. Every time you look, it's something different. Nature forcing changes and people trying to keep up. Sometimes the storms come in gales, flooding the land and destroying houses. Other times it happens gradually, the sand shifting until people's front doors and porches are completely blocked and they have to bulldoze their way through.
Huh.
With some real live wild
Yeah, what's with
ponies
the
under our
strange
belt,
white pony,
we drove back down the
child?
coast to see some dunes.
That's not typical.
I mean dunes, over 100 feet tall. While the grown-ups stayed down below, Jed and I climbed to the top of the highest one. Just walking in sand can be tiring. Climbing to the top of this mountain of sand was brutal, and it took us almost
Oh, I just
15
realized the
minutes.
check engine light is
Catching
on.
our breath at the top, could
We
see
don't
the
need to
people on
observe
nearby
that, do we,
peaks strapping
children?
themselves onto colorful hang gliders. They lumbered down the dune until, if they were lucky, they rose gradually up into the air.
You
gliding
can't
for about
imagine a
12 feet
child
or so,
named Jed, but I
before
can think of an
careening
adult
down
named
headlong into the
Jeb.
sand. I can just imagine a bird
A famous
passing over
adult
these
named
huge
Jeb.
creatures with their artificial wings, awkwardly trying to catch some air, and thinking, amateurs. But that's how it all started. People with the dream of flight. And this is where it all started. Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Here in the sand, Orville and Wilbur Wright somehow managed to get their flying machines off the ground.
Oh, well, aren't
And
they
civilization
fancy?
hasn't
Also,
been the
we're in
same
New
since.
Mexico.
At the count of 3,
Hello,
Jed and
Las
I started down the
Cruces.
dune, taking huge strides that went
Yeah,
1 foot
lanes
out
are
and
just
20 feet down.
suggestions. You could just
Now
go
this
across them
is
anytime
flying.
you wish.
When I remember the outer banks of North Carolina, I'm going to remember the outer edges of things. How the last piece of cake
New
always tastes the best
Mexico.
and takes the longest to eat. How moments can seem to
Land of
stretch out
enchantment.
forever and be gone within the blink of an eye. How practically anything's possible if you stretch your wings out and try.
Do, do, do. Find the white pony at the beach.
Josie goes back in time to speak with the Brazilian rubber cat, who has been trying to save what's left of the South American ring. And Tucker Jones has another mystery.
I gotta pull over for one more second,
Out there,
folks.
and remember, it all comes back.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Las Cruces, hello. Update that. Now it's time for issue 11, volume 3 of Boomerang. I guess I should change myself back as well. Fiddle-dee guy, it's time for me to say goodbye. Hi, I'm back. I'm back. Was I crashing less as the jester? Vehicle malfunction. Vehicle malfunction. It's fine. See, it's fine, kids. It's fine. Don't tell mom.
Jessica, have you ever looked at the sun?
You mean right at it?
Yeah.
Of course not. It'll burn your eyes out.
Well, then how do you know it's a planet and not a glowing chariot being pulled across the sky?
What? Kid?
Excellent point there, Bowie. People ask the strangest questions around here.
Jess, did you know that if you took your family tree back to 1400, you'd have over 2 million direct ancestors?
Well, no, King. No, I didn't know that. What did I tell you?
Ooh,
Just too hungry.
Tucson.
Finally, a question I can relate to. Sure.
It was fine. We almost hit a train, but that's okay. There's something about a train that's magic, kids. Just don't worry about it.
Try to eat it. You just snarf
I was just
down
trying to
the
give you all a
worms
closer
inside
look at our good old pals,
Worms are
Amtrak.
supposed to taste great.
Motel Boulevard.
knew
Why
it
is
was
my
too good
car
to be
going
true.
so slow? Is it
Well,
because
here's
I
the
have the
basic
check
one.
engine light on?
Michelle and the King explain the history of immigration. Valerie Harper tells the tale of a Greek god who's made the mistake of lending his wheels to a long-lost son. And I've got a natural wonder that you better listen to during the day with the lights on. Ladies and gentlemen, start your thinking machine.
My name is Alicia Olson, and I'm
You
one
should
of
go
the
to.
Boomerang
I've been
kids
to
here
Arizona
help you
once.
keep
Like I
up
drove
with
through it,
what's
and I think I did a
We've
stop
got
there.
stories,
Arizona's
songs,
nice.
Kids' views of the news, and some of the
I just like the
greatest jokes
Southwest,
you'll ever
honestly.
hear.
So dust off that baseball mitt, put on those earphones, and feed your head.
I wonder if I'll make it to LA by the end of the stream.
Rubber has been used by Amazonian Indians for centuries. They first
Rubber.
called the tree weeping wood and made booties and bottles from the gooey liquid they bled from rubber trees.
Cool.
When Indians introduced the magical substance to white explorers, rubber soon became big business. More than one brutal rubber company showed their thanks to the Indians by torturing them and forcing them to collect rubber as slaves. Needing even more rubber tappers, the companies turned to poor Brazilians they brought out to the forest from the cities. These men made out a little bit better, but not much. They were forced to sell all the rubber they collected to bosses who first
It just
attracted
seemed like
rent for
another
the use
sad
of the
case
trees and the use
of people
tools.
killing each other.
Since the price the workers received was low to begin with, it wasn't unusual for the rubber tapper to end up owing more money than he did when he began working.
Huh.
The Amazon is a dangerous place. The trails tappers travel each day to collect the milky liquid are lined with prickly palms, some having 2-inch long spikes as sharp
Ow.
as sewing needles. There are caterpillars which will make you bleed from your ears and nose if you so much as brush up against them.
Don't want to.
Then there are all the normal jungle hazards: malaria, poisonous spiders, and jaguars.
Classic malaria.
Despite all this, rubber tappers and their families remained in the forest because it offered them a better life than they had back in the crowded city slums. But then yet another danger arrived. A danger that even today threatens their jobs, their homes, and their lives. I'm going back in time to 1974 to speak with a Brazilian rubber tapper by the name of Chico Mendes. Like his father and his father's father before him, Chico began tapping rubber at the age of 9. Today, he is 30 years old, and like every other day, Chico is out on the trails. His wife told me I could find him around here at noon, but I've got to tell you, it is thick out here. Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Oh, mio.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to
No,
startle you.
no, no. it is I who am sorry for pointing this gun.
It just seems like another
You see,
sad case
my wife
of
told
people
me
killing
you were
each other.
coming, but in the forest we clap our hands 3 times, so that a man is not startled.
Okay.
There are dangerous animals in the forest, and lately some of those animals look like you and I.
Yeah, a lot of kids
But your time
get
is good,
guns
Miss
pointed
Jessup.
at them in this magazine.
I shall tap my last friend here, and then we shall sit with some food.
This is how you get rubber?
Yes. I take this blade in both hands and hold it like this. Make my slice. Then I place a tin cup underneath the cut to collect the rubber.
Tin Cup, I love that movie.
The rubber tree knows it's Serengeti, Jose.
I think
It may take
none
weeks,
of these tapes
even
are not
months before a
unhinged,
new
which is
tree
why
is
I'm
used
playing
to your
them.
cut and begins to work for you. If you cut too deep, you will kill the tree. Too shallow, and the rubber does not flow. If you cut too often, you will tire the tree. But if you do it correctly, the tree will work for you for many generations.
What did you mean a while ago when you pointed the gun at me and said there are dangerous human animals in the forest?
You must understand our country, Josie. It is very big, with very many poor people. Most of the people live in the cities to the south. Most of the land is here in Amazonia, forest, as you see, all around you. So our government says, aha, the answer to the problem is to move people into Amazonia. You see, this way, the cities will be less crowded, we will make use of the land there, and everything will be beautiful. Oh, but it is difficult to convince people to leave their homes for the forest. And how are they to get here? So, the government builds a very long, very expensive road through the forest. Then, they promise people who take this road to the Amazon that they will receive hundreds of acres of land for free. All they must do is live on it and show they are making improvements. How do you think one makes improvements to the rainforest, Jose?
I don't know, maybe plant some new trees or something?
Ah, you would make a good Serengeti, Jose. No, new people to the land burn the forest to the ground.
Wait, Mr. Mendes, they were allowed to burn it?
Not allowed, Jose. They were advised to burn it.
Okay.
But why?
The problem is not only Brazil, Jose. Since the beginning of time, people think of the forest as a place that must be cut. Wilderness is a place that must be tamed. Even in the Bible, wilderness is never a good or friendly place, only bad. A place where you do not want to be. The idea was to clear the land for farms. If I am not mistaken, this is the same way your country was settled in the West. But your country is not our country. The people are different. The weather is different. And most of all, the soil is different. Look at the plants around us. You would think soil that grows such plants must be very rich. But my country has many tricks, Jose, and this is a trick of nature. The nutrients in the soil that provide so much life come from trees and plants, not the soil itself. When you burn or clear
Hooray,
the
we don't have
forest
to
away,
waste ourselves.
the nutrients wash
Hey,
away.
folks, we're in Arizona.
Even a soil that is dry,
Kids, we
without
made it
the
to
rich
Arizona.
nutrients once present. Instead, nothing but weeds will grow. Thousands of square miles of rainforest were cut down before they learned their lesson. Now, the government says, maybe the land will be better for raising cows. It would be funny if it were not so sad. For years, we destroyed thousands and thousands of square miles of rubber trees, Brazil nut trees, fruit trees, medicine plants. They grow very well, so we can plant crops that do not grow very well.
No, I've been
Now,
actually driving pretty normal.
Every second that goes
somehow.
by, an area of forest the size of a football field is being destroyed. And for what? So one cow can eat the grass? And in a few years, this grazing will make the land completely worthless.
What's that sound?
Oh, it is is raining.
Raining?
Yes. Only
Kid,
the
it's
trees
called the
feel drops
rainforest. What do you
now.
expect?
Soon, in 5 or 10 minutes, they will grow tired from being your umbrella and the water will drip to the ground.
But I don't feel anything, not even a drop.
Much of
Oh
the
yeah,
life in the jungle
and we're
grows
doing
above
slash
a
and burn in
place
the
called
rainforest.
Canopy. The canopy is so thick that a monkey could climb a tree at the floor of the Andes mountains and travel 2,000 miles to the Atlantic Ocean before it would have to come down. Many times seeds don't even make it to the ground. Flowers, bushes, even trees sprout first in the leaves above us.
That's crazy.
For many years, my family has worked these trees, Josie. They have been good to us. Now, it is our turn to speak for the forest. It is time for empate.
Empate?
When we hear people cutting down trees, tappers and their families come together and we form a human wall around the trees. Very often, the workers will drop their chainsaws once they understand what we are doing. And for a time,
Yeah, we were all environmentalists in the 90s.
Sometimes we do not succeed.
There was so much environmentalist kids material
For
in
this
the
reason,
90s.
The ranchers do not like the tappers. We are making their work of destruction difficult. They killed several of my friends, and I must be very careful. The rubber tappers are not afraid of progress. We are not against the Amazon highway. But this forest has been here for millions of years. Don't you think we should give it a little respect?
I'm with
As
the rubber
saving
guy.
the rainforest became a worldwide movement, Chico Mendes, a poor self-educated rubber tapper, was contacted by environmentalists in the United States. They even flew him to Washington to speak with U.S. congressmen because the American banks were loaning Brazil much of the money to build the Amazon highway. Mr. Mendes helped devise a brilliant program in which the areas of land called extractive reserves were set aside so that fruit, nuts, and rubber and medical plants could be harvested without destroying the forest. Meanwhile, however, thousands of square miles of rainforest continue to be torched. In 1987, a weather satellite took pictures of Brazil from the sky showing 7,603 separate fires burning in one day. As Chico Mendes and his friends raised their voices to protect the forest, the pressure also increased on Mr. Mendes from the ranchers. Several times they threatened his life. On December 9th, 1988, Chico Mendes told a reporter, "If a messenger came down from heaven and guaranteed that my death would strengthen our struggle, it would even be worth it. But experience teaches us the opposite. Lots of funerals won't save the Amazon. I want to live."
Was he
2
killed?
weeks later, he was killed by a blast from a shotgun.
Oh, Jesus.
A rancher and his son were convicted of Chico's murder. 1 year later, they mysteriously walked away from the jail and haven't been seen since. Did they get away with it? It depends. You see, this is about more than
Boomerang, could you lighten up a
It's
little?
about
People
lies
killing
and
each
violence
other.
and greed. If we see bad stuff going on and choose to ignore it, then yeah, they pulled it off all right. Chico Mendes is just another notch on their gun belts.
It just seemed like another sad case.
But if
of
instead
people
we
killing
stand up
each
for
other.
the ideas we believe in, then Chico's murderers will never rest in peace. Because they will know there are good people all over the world who aren't afraid.
It just
This is
seemed
Josie
like
Mann
another
with
sad
another turning
case
point in
of
world
people
history.
killing each other.
Alright, Boomers, it's time for letters from all you subscribers.
It just
about
seemed
the
like
funny
another
things
sad
about us
case
too.
of
Here's
people
a letter
killing
from
each other.
Esther, Joy, Peters, and Bill.
Don't tell Mom about all the death and
Boomerang.
destruction
One day, my
from
mom
these
sent me
issues,
down to
okay?
the basement to get some mayonnaise. When I was just about to get it, my dad came down and asked if there was any mayonnaise. Why would my mom ask me and my dad to get the same thing?
It's called redundancy, Esther. That's a word that means if you want to make sure something gets done, ask about 4 million people, and someone somewhere along the line might actually do it. Here's a letter from Jimbo, Jody, in Sioux City, Iowa.
Dear Boomerang, my mom says she doesn't want me to grow up, and then she says she wishes I would grow up.
Wait, don't tell me, Jimbo. She tells you she doesn't want you to grow up when you're getting tucked into bed and you're smiling and everything. She tells you that she wants you to grow up when you have jello fights with your sister in the living room. Come on. I'm right, aren't I? Finally, here's a letter from Melissa McDermott in North Belmar, New York.
Dear Boomerang, my sister is 1 year younger
Oh, I
than
just
me.
checked my gas.
One day,
Uh-oh.
I left her at school and my mom got mad.
Oh, good.
My
Thank God
sister
there's
does
gas.
that to me all the time.
Okay, Melissa, I could tell you that your mom isn't being fair. Or I could tell you that 2 wrongs don't make a right. Or I could tell you that the older kid always gets blamed. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to tell you all 3 and let you choose the advice you want to hear.
That's it for Big Talk, Boomers. Send us your letters about the funny things grown-ups do. And maybe you'll hear yours in the next issue of Boomerang.
My name is Tucker Jones. I'm a private eye. There are 752 stories in the town I call home.
See ya, Shax. Thanks for showing up. Alright, let's get some gas.
News is a lot like poison ivy. Just one tiny morsel of the stuff, and the brain starts itching. I mean, really itching. Unlike an ivy rash, you can't just reach up and scratch. Nah, the only way to soothe the dreaded news itch is to give it to someone else. Maybe 3 or 4 people. Only then does the itch start to fade. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. And way ahead of Eddie Maxwell. He was one of those guys who could live his entire life without anyone really remembering who he was. It wasn't that he tried to be forgettable. The guy was responsible for some pretty wild science experiments at school fairs. He was a Boy Scout. He played cello. He got good grades. But somehow, my response was always the same. Eddie Maxwell. The only reason I knew who Eddie was is because I was sitting across from him in the reference section of the public library where he had requested a confidential meeting. After checking to make sure no one was listening, Eddie got down to business. I'm a little embarrassed about this whole thing, Tucker. Get over it, Eddie, I said, half joking, half impatient. What's the problem? Love notes. Love notes? You mean Valentine's? He nodded. I scratched my head. Valentine's Day was way, way long ago. Exactly, Tucker. And I'm still getting them. Sometimes 9 or 10 times a day.
What the hell, kid?
Eddie told me his whole sweet, sticky story. Valentine's on his locker, tucked into his school.
This is Tucson.
On the screen
Beautiful,
door of his house,
beautiful
under his bicycle
Tucson.
seat, all signed, your secret admirer. You got to find out who this is, Eddie pleaded. Understand, Tucker. It's a nice compliment, but I must get on with my life. Yes, of course. Can you give me any help here, Eddie? Any ideas who it might be? You
I
mentioned
hate
these
this.
things were stuck under your pillow inside the door of your house. How about a neighbor? He blushed. Well,
Thank you, Silver
suppose there
Songbird, for
is
the
Karen
follow.
Kelly.
Sorry, I
She
can't.
lives across the street, but she's not exactly my type. Karen Kelly, vice president of the class, shortstop for the Sluggers, and, well...
Okay, we're
right,
straightened out now.
Not
It should
exactly
be fine.
Eddie's type. Okay,
Nope,
I said.
we're not straightened.
This sounds like something I can handle. Give me a couple of days and a couple of bucks, and I'll tell you what I've come up with. On my way out the door, Eddie called after me. I do have one idea, Tucker. You might check in with Ella. All I could do was chuckle. Suggesting I go to Ella for information about who had a crush on whom was like telling someone looking for a phone number to try the information operator. Quite simply, Ella Marie Pratt was the 6th grade information operator.
All right, I somehow
At
got
least
it here.
information about anything that had to do with who likes
All right, kids, pick up some beaver
Where
nuggets,
did Ella
some
get all our
Arizona green teas,
Like
pick
any
up all the good
private
stuff.
eye, she kept her eyes and
Oh.
ears open. But look, I didn't make up that poison ivy of the brain stuff for nothing. Ella Marie's greatest friend was the newsy brain itch. As soon as anyone intercepted a mushy note or saw somebody making goo-goo eyes at somebody else, they ran to Ella
All
to
right.
relieve the itch. At noon hour, I found Ella
I'm
hanging out
refueled
by
on
the flagpole,
kombucha. Yeah, you can
holding
pump the
court
gas,
with her
kids.
pals. No, Mandy's not going out anymore. They broke up after school.
Fuck it, I'm just
Richard,
backing up. I hate
I hear
this.
he likes Sidney Gibbons. but Cindy Gibbons is going out with someone else. Excuse me? Just give me the facts, kid. Do you like someone, or does your friend like someone? No, it's not exactly. Well, yes, it is exactly. Eddie. Eddie Maxwell. Eddie Maxwell.
Yeah, super juice.
Maxwell.
Anybody want super juice?
Wait. Eddie Maxwell. Doesn't he wail on that oversized violin? The cello? Yep, that's him. Now about Eddie and Karen Kelly. Does this ring any bells?
I'm fucked.
Eddie and Karen Kelly. Yeah, that's a ripe one. Maybe in his wildest dreams. Trust me, Tucker. That's one tip you can forget all about. What makes you think someone's after Eddie anyhow? Are you certain about your information?
Fuck you, truck.
I opened up the grocery bag and gave her a glimpse of the Valentines. She took me aside and whispered, "Look, Jones, I haven't the faintest idea who this might be. But when you find out, I'll pay you 3 smackers for the info, if you deliver the name to me first." I gave her a quick nod and wandered off for a think. Coming up empty with Ella meant the job was not going to be easy. I plopped down next to the tree in the park and pored over the Valentines for something. Anything that might provide a clue.
No.
You're my peanut butter. I'm stuck on you. Be mine. Nothing too original there. All I had to go on was the signature. 3 words. Your secret admirer. All spelled correctly in handwriting with a slight leftwards tilt, as if they were being blown over backwards by a stiff breeze. That gave me an idea. On the wall of announcements at school, there was a get well card.
How?
Every kid who could write signed it. I should be able to get a match for the handwriting. 45 painstaking minutes later, I was still frustrated. The only handwriting even close was the signature of Gerald McBoing Boing. Obviously, someone's idea of a joke. My only hope was to set up surveillance and hope for a lucky break. I ran home and grabbed my binoculars, a couple of apples, cheese and potato chips,
Gerald McBoing
and my
Boing.
tape player. I had a list of tree forts all over town, and lucky for me,
Did
Mr.
it?
Talentino
Oh,
had
no.
one right next to
What?
Eddie's house. That gave me a full view of the place.
Come
His kids were grown,
on.
and he was more than happy to let me use it for a few days. I had just settled in for what I expected to be a long wait when the door
Okay.
swung open across the street, and a girl about my age wearing a grungy baseball cap came down the walk with a small package. It would have been too easy for her to run across the street and place it on Eddie's porch. Nope.
Okay.
Instead, she
We're
walked
good.
halfway
We're
around the
good,
block
kids.
on her side of the street, then crossed over and came back. She quickly looked both ways, then started up to Eddie's house. You don't last long as a private eye without little bells in your head. Mine were ringing up a storm when she walked out that door.
That's right. All private eyes
By
have
the time the
bells
girl
in their
set the
head.
package down on the front porch, I was right behind her. Mind if I have a look at that? The girl grabbed up the package and swirled around to face me. It was Karen Kelly, and I don't know who was more surprised. She suddenly looked across and swung the envelope behind her back. Yes, I do mind. Who do you think you are, anyway? Last time I checked, I was Tucker Jones. And by
Recall the
authority
first
vested
Gerald
in me by
McBoing
Eddie
Boing
Maxwell,
shorts were
I'm
by
going to have to have a
UPA
look
in
at
the 50s.
Are you whacked out or what, Tucker? This is from my mom to Mrs. Waxwell. Oh, I see. Is that why you went halfway down the block on that side of the street and then came back to this side of the street? No, it's because I almost forgot to drop it off on my way uptown. Sure, I said, nodding, and reached for the... I tugged and she pulled, and when it seemed like a draw, I let go. Then, with my lightning-quick reflexes, I snatched it cleanly from her grasp. I tore the envelope open to find a fudge recipe. Look, Karen, I began. You, Tucker Jones, are an obnoxious, deceitful, pushy brat.
Globe?
I looked
What
up
kind of city is
naturally. Well,
Globe?
how's the fudge?
Sorry, Arizona.
This was going to be harder than I thought. I knocked on Eddie's door and told him that I was going to need a couple more bucks to see this one through. He nodded and whipped out a checkbook. I like to keep track of
I
my
actually didn't know
expenses,
there
if
was
you
a
don't
2000 Gerald
He started to
McBoing
hand me the
Boing.
check.
I only knew about
Then
the
grabbed
originals.
it back, crumpled it up,
That's cool.
tossed it into the
Oh,
wastebasket.
I'm driving
Why
bad.
was everyone so grabby today?
Globe
Sorry,
is
Tucker.
haunting
Wrong amount.
me.
The bell started ringing again. I took a wad of gum from my mouth and tossed it towards the can. I can hit a 3-pointer 5 times out of 10, so there was no way I miss a gum wad from 3 feet. Not usually, anyway. But this time I did. Then picked it up placed it into the can, palming the crumpled check at the same time. I thanked Eddie, and as soon as I got out of view of his house, I pulled out the discarded check. Same amount, same date, same everything. Except the handwriting was different. It was leaning backwards. I kept Eddie's $4.
Listen, it doesn't matter if we've got a Coke Freestyle machine dragging behind our truck. It's fine. It's extra added value.
So in my final report to the client,
in fact, my client will be happy to see it. They'll be like, "Oh boy, Coca-Cola for me." In many flavor configurations. Speaking of Coca-Cola Freestyle, I need to go back to the movies. Okay. Sorry to talk over this guy, but chat.
Even if I worked my way up to number 1.
I know the price varies across the U.S., but in Texas, AMC has a deal where on Tuesdays you can see a movie for $5, and also for $5 you get popcorn and soda. And the AMC near me has a Coke Freestyle machine, so it's like a Coke Freestyle and popcorn for $5, which is an insane deal. So it's like $10 for like movie and snack and soda. And I've been meaning to do that again because that's a really good deal.
I was rollerblading down Haskins Hill.
Haskins Hill? Goodness, girl. What are you doing on Haskins Hill with a pair of rollerblades? Oh, sit down. I'll get you some Band-Aids, and I've got just the book for you.
I already have a rollerblade manual.
No, sweetheart. This book doesn't have anything to do with rollerblading. This book's about a fellow who bit off more than he could chew. Oh, yes. Here it is. The Story of Phaeton.
Nice name.
Yeah, well, Phaeton was a nice young man. A little sad, though. You see, when the other children sailed toy boats or explored the canyons with their fathers, Phaeton always had to go alone. He never had known his dad. Time and time again, he asked his mother, Clymene, about his father, but each time she would simply change the subject.
Rude.
Then one day, she awoke him at first light, and together they hiked to the top of a hillside. She pointed proudly to the flaming red horizon. Look, Phaeton, the sun. Every morning, a fiery golden chariot drawn by 4 winged horses sweeps across the
See you,
heavens.
Kaboom. Be careful
from east
getting
to
out of the
west.
truck. Remember, tuck and roll.
Phaeton's eyes blew up, huge, imagining such a thing. There is but one man with strength and cunning to drive this chariot.
Okay, it's cool.
That is your
Road work ahead.
Now, as you might expect, Phaeton was proud to be the son of the sun, and the next day he bragged about it at school. Your father is the sun? Right, kid.
What was with the
Phaeton had no
Seinfeld
answer for the
base
children,
there?
And so he went home to beg his mother for some kind of proof that he was the son of Apollo. I swear to you it is true, she said, hurt that he would doubt her words. But if you do not believe me, go to your father's house in the east and ask him yourself. Yeah, said Phaeton.
Dad, are you the son?
That's exactly what I'll do. He faced east and began walking. For weeks and weeks, he
Dad, are you the
traveled
guy
until
giving
he came
everybody
to that
skin
place
cancer?
where the sun first rises. There stood a magnificent golden palace, fronted by towering bronze columns.
Yeah, you got to go to
gleaming
movies on
silver
Tuesdays.
doors,
It's such a good
decorated
deal.
with beautifully
Like,
crafted ivory.
I feel bad. I may skip a
Climbed up
Tuesday
a
stream at
steep
some point to go to the
staircase
movies
and
again because it's
ventured
been so
inside.
long. But there's nothing showing I
walls
want
of
to.
the room were
That new
radiant
Looney
with
Tunes
gold
movie is
and
coming out. I
bronze.
guess I could see
the
that.
The ceiling glowed as if it was on fire. Momentarily blinded, he stumbled to the floor. When his eyes had adjusted to the dazzling light, he found himself at the foot of a sparkling throne. To one side stood the centuries, with creased faces and long flowing beards.
Oh, I did see
The other
Companion
side
the other
stood
day. I like
weeks,
that.
months,
I think the most recent
and
movies
spaced
I've
at
seen are
regular
Heretic and
intervals,
Companion. I like them
hours of
both.
the day. Spring stood by with a crown of flowers atop her head. There was autumn, wearing
Yeah, there's a new Looney
necklace
Tunes
of
movie coming
rustling
out.
leaves. Next to her
The Day
was
the Earth Blew
shivering
Up, I
blue
think.
winter with ice
It was going to be like a Max
summer,
original,
covered by
but they were
nothing
like, we're
but
going to put this in the
sheaves of
movies
grain.
instead.
Atop the throne, clothed in a crimson robe dotted with diamonds and sapphires, was
Oh, did it
Apollo.
already come out? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
So, my son, Apollo's voice roared down from the
Oh
throne.
man, I would
What
hate if
brings you
my
to
dad
this
was
high
Apollo.
dwelling? Timid at first, Phaeton's words wavered. Father,
Cool tunnel.
if I may call you that, and my mother is not lying, I come here only to seek proof of my heritage. Please send me home with something that will soothe my own doubts and will free me from the searing taunts of my
March
classmates.
14th, we got new Looney Tunes,
Apollo
folks.
rose from the throne. Your
I'll
mother
be
tells
moving,
the
so I
truth,
probably won't watch
Phaeton.
it.
Ask for anything. Scarcely had Apollo's words traveled across the room than the boy asked to drive the chariot. Just one day, Father, I would like to drive the flaming car of daylight across the sky. Apollo stumbled backwards into his seat. No, my son. Please, let me take back my promise. You are but mortal, yet what you want is more than even the gods can request.
That's
Only
messed
your
up.
father has the power
I know,
to
we're
drive
going
the
to
winged
LA.
horses. What do you believe to be out there in the heavens? Temples of gold? Beautiful woodlands and birds? No, my son. The highway is dangerous.
So
Even
it's
if
not
you
even being
somehow
distributed by
convince
Warner's in the
horses
U.S. They're
to
like someone
stay on
else.
course, you must pass the lowered horns of the bull, the savage archer, the wicked-mouthed scorpion.
Yeah, I saw people being like, if you don't watch this
lion.
Looney Tunes movie
Seeing
that's
that his
coming
son
out,
did
the
not
Looney
seem
Tunes are gonna
impressed,
die, and it's
Apollo
your
continued.
fault. And I don't
The
like
road
being
at
pressured
first
to
is
watch
steep.
movies like that. I
Then the
hate
road
that. I'm
arches
like,
high into the
it's not my
heavens,
fault if Warner
so
Brothers kills
high
off the Looney
that even
Tunes. Don't put
I
that pressure
am
on me.
Finally, it descends as sharply as it first rose, demanding the tightest grip on the reins. So steep is the final distance that the sea gods who await me at the end of the day fear that I shall once come crashing down headlong into their waters. Do you think you can fight
I
the
agree that they
dizzying
need to
motion
show
of the
Looney
earth?
Tunes shorts
Do you
before
think you
movies.
can
They need
hold
to.
those
They could
horses
just take the
hot
shorts
with
from like the
fire,
Looney Tunes show that
snorting
was
from
recently
mouth
done
and
and just put that
nostrils?
up there.
Apollo may as well have been talking to a refrigerator. Phaeton insisted his father make good on the promise. Shaking his head, Apollo led the boy down to the chariot. It was the shiniest, most gorgeous thing Phaeton had ever seen. Its axle, pole, and tires were of gold. The spokes and yoke, silver. Nearby, in the stable,
Yeah,
Phaeton could
Tweety's
hear the
gonna
horses
die. They're gonna just
kick
straight up.
menacingly
Tweety.
against the doors.
Mm-mm.
Glancing
They're plucking
outward,
that
Apollo
fucker.
noticed that Aurora, goddess of the dawn, had opened up her crimson courtway. Quickly, the day must get underway. Hours, yoke the horses and fix the harness. As this was being done, Apollo spread ointment over Phaeton's face to protect him from the heat and light. At the very least, my son, please heed this warning. Go easy on the whip and stay taut with the reins.
I need to search eBay.
The horses need no urging. The problem is
For,
to hold them.
Char Pixie, thank you for the sub. All right.
Stay a middle course.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
4 majestically muscled horses were led to the chariot. Eager to get underway, the magnificent beast.
That is so
trod
funny
the
that people
ground
were worried
and
the animation would
fought
die if the
powerfully
Winnie the Pooh
against
movie
their
didn't
rivals.
succeed. I remember seeing
Phaeton
something like
was having
that.
second thoughts. He had never even ridden a horse before, much less handled such a team. But he had come so far, and the taunts of his classmates overrode his sense of reason. You must not linger,
Listen to
his father
Seraphis
said
Kane
calmly.
and get
Dawn is
and
glowing.
get
Here,
get
take
ATS
the reins
ETS2
and hold them
for
tight, or
$3 because
better yet,
American
take
Truck
my
Simulator is
advice,
fun.
Not my chariot, and let me light the world while you stand here on solid ground. At that moment, the barriers were raised, and the 4 horses, Pyros, Eos, Aton, and Phlegon, burst out for the heavens in an awesome display of power.
Awesome
Immediately, the
horses.
sensed something awry. The chariot bounced back and forth as if it were empty. The
Oops.
reins were loose and unguided. Soon their hoofs
Yeah,
were
Flygon.
slicing through the clouds and off the pathway.
Isn't a Flygon a
As the chariot
Pokemon?
approached the scorpion, its claws grasped out menacingly. Phaeton shielded himself, and in so doing, dropped the reins. Now the chariot whipped up.
Okay,
and down
yeah,
like
it's a Pokemon that
suicidal kite.
makes
First
dawn
dipping
happen.
down perilously close to the earth, where it scorched the trees, wrecked the prairies, turned lakes to mist and set entire cities ablaze. Now the horses, tossing their heads freely, charged upwards into uncharted regions of the heavens, singeing even the cold stars and sending the bear lumbering for cover.
It's so funny. I saw all these people being like, Hooters failed because of Gen Z. No, Hooters failed because of millennials. And then you read about it, and it's just like, oh, they just got bought by venture capital, so they're being liquidated. So, you know.
At last resort,
That's what always happens. Everyone blames the millennials or the Gen Zers or whatever, and again, I think Hooters could have succeeded if they served food that was good and it was people in fursuits. God, I'm sorry. It would really suck trying to be a waiter and wearing a fursuit. That's like impossible.
Phaeton's mother, Clymene, wept bitterly, but no one was as heartbroken. Usually the most radiant god in the heavens, he fell into a fit.
Wait, did that child die? I was not paying attention. I was thinking about venture capital and Hooters.
Task of lighting the earth. Let someone else drive the chariot.
Yo, you're getting Buc-ee's in North Carolina sick.
Like another sad case
Put aside
of people killing
his
each other.
thunderbolts that murder sons and take up the reins himself. He too will discover the strength of these fiery-footed horses. And perhaps then he will see that a boy who did not guide them well does not deserve death.
Oh.
Deep down, Apollo knew only he was to borrow clouded the sun god's mind. He would no longer light the earth.
Yeah, they didn't have Hooters back in ancient Greece.
At the next dawn, when Aurora again tried to roll
They
back
had,
the
like-
black veil, the gods gathered
Okay,
around
hear me
Apollo.
out, hear me out, hear me out.
They understood
I think the problem with Hooters is that it wasn't a cafeteria buffet style place. Imagine Luby's meets Hooters. Think about it, chat.
Finally, still wild and trembling, Apollo gathered his powerful steeds and set out for another
God, you're right,
run
Clib.
across the
Anytime 2D animation comes to theaters,
ever
there's
glance
always
up
like
and see a
people
shooting star
doom saying that
fluttering
it's
down
gonna
to
die, and I'm like,
You might
2D
see it as
people
an
will always do
eternal
2D
tribute
animation.
to a boy named Phaeton who took on more than he could handle.
No,
On the other hand, it might be me streaking down Haskins Hill.
You'll never guess what I was doing. I was looking at chat.
Ooh, running a little low on product.
Whopper Wapoo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Devin the Dove talking to you on Smile on Your
It's
Dial.
fine.
Boom. Radio. I'm here to talk to you today about language. That's right, language. Speech. One person in communicating
Yeah, the
with
truck
someone
just
else.
needed to take a
I
little
overheard
nap.
Lucy at school yesterday talking to a group of friends, and she said, "So just at that moment,
All right, let's go.
Mr. Oh my god." Now, I'm not exactly
yeah.
a lieutenant in the language police, Boomers, but I think I'm missing something here. Like maybe a verb or a modifier or, I don't
That's
know,
not so bad.
maybe an end to a sentence. Mr. Fine Guy walked by. All right, I heard that. It's good sound information. It paints a picture. I can just hear Mr. Fine Guy's footsteps. So what happens next? Lucy she was like, oh my gosh. All right now.
You're getting to Buc-ee's in
maybe
Kansas
Lucy was
City?
embarrassed.
Sick.
Maybe she was scared. Maybe she was turning purple. Any of these things would have been fine. She can be
Yeah, I'm
like
probably
she
gonna
wants
see.
to be.
I don't know if I'll see
No.
the day the Earth blew up. I kind of want to see
my
it,
gosh.
but I'm also like, hear me
Wait a
out.
minute.
I'm like, I mostly go to
She was
matinees
anything.
for movies
She was
because
like
cheap,
something.
and the idea
Well,
of
if
going
she
to a
was
matinee
like
filled
a
with
hungry
kids
cheetah,
is
I
like
can
the
understand.
opposite of what I
Like
want to
a
do.
shooting star. Sure, I
But also like, I do
Hey,
want to see
Maybe she
cartoons.
was like a wet noodle stretched over a radiator. Look, she can feel like anything she wants to, but an oh my god? I don't know what an oh my gosh is, so how am I supposed to figure out what being like an oh my gosh is? Okay, maybe oh my gosh isn't even a really new word she made up. Maybe, just maybe, she was so overcome with the feeling that she couldn't finish her sentence.
Oops, I'm going down the wrong way on the highway.
Look, it happens. If I tried to explain to you what it felt like when Mrs. Merkel walked into the boys' room on me when Harry Sanders got sick, I would have said the same thing. But Mrs. Merkel walking in on me in the boys' room was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Lucy says this junk all the time.
I gotta say, a
So
lot
what
of
we have here
some of
is
the
an
newer
interactive
3D
form of
animation stuff's
communication.
looked good. Like
Lucy
Dogman
says
looks
just half
like
of her
well
sentence,
animated.
and she expects
Kind of
you
want
to
to
know
see
what
it.
happened.
I want to.
Now, if you
What else?
listen to language
The
researchers,
bad
and
guys,
you probably
Puss in
don't.
Boots.
I mean, how many language
Been some
researchers
really
have you
interesting
talked to over the
3D
past
stuff
couple
lately.
weeks? Anyway, the first to tell you
Yeah, I'm
language
confused by
changes.
roundabouts. That's
we
fair.
have rules about how to use sentences, and we have words that Webster and Funkin' Wagnall and all the rest of the dictionary people say are okay. When we disobey those rules, we are using language incorrectly. And that means that teachers, parents, and anybody who's anybody can get on your case and say, hey, speak proper English, will you? But get
Agricultural
this,
inspection.
If those, quote,
Again,
incorrect,
kids, toss out the
unquote,
watermelons.
forms of language continue, and more people start using them, the language police change their rules, and suddenly it's an accepted form of English. It's okay. Why?
Kids, we
Because
made it to
language is a
California.
living, changing animal, boomers, and proper English is the way people are. Now, Lucy isn't the only person in my class talking. So is Josh. So is his friend Randall.
Okay,
We're
Krongo,
getting
not to
dangerously close the
put
point
it
where
on
language
you, but
police
like
are
you're the
going to
only
say,
person I've
"Well,
seen who
folks,
did not
map
like the Wild
sentences
Robot.
aren't just a
I
mistake.
respect
This
it.
is a
I respect it
revolution."
so much.
Okay. Do you know what that
it's
means,
fine.
boomers? That means sentences are going to get shorter and shorter until people won't talk at all. We'll just have to guess what they feel. Cool, huh? Well, it's time for me to bug out for the dugout and blow this pop stand, boomers. This is Devin the Dove talking to you on the Smile on Your Dial.
Am I not in the...
Radio.
What's the big idea?
Family has just moved. And now
Okay, I guess I got
You don't know a
inspected.
soul. You don't know where to go for a hot chocolate, much less a good friend. You notice that the kids dress a little differently. The boys wear their hair shorter. Kids seem to talk with an accent. Some slang they use may just as well be another language. You join soccer and band, and both places you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Sound lonely? Difficult? Imagine coming into not a new town, but a new country with a completely different language, different customs, and all the same loneliness. This is the experience of an immigrant.
When I came here,
We're in Blythe.
people were nice. At my first period, they were nice to me, and they talked to me how to answer. Cause in Philippines, when we are answering the teacher's question, we should stand up and say the answer. But here, you should just sit down. And my friends said, don't stand up, just sit down, because you don't have to. And then at my PE, I was lonely. No one's with me. Some people was cruel. They say things that I don't know, that I know now. They used to curse me. Like bad words, like why did you come here? What for? They're so cruel. I just don't wanna talk about it. I have a
Damn.
friend in Spanish. She was born here.
I'm
I went
sorry,
to her
kid.
house,
That
and
sucks.
She became my best friend. She used to tell me some words that I should learn too. And then we went to her house, and she told me all about her parents. They were nice. They speak Spanish, but they speak English when I was there, because I don't know how they were speaking. It's also at lunch in this school, I don't know what mashed potato is. Then my grandma used to be a maid from the Philippines to American. She told me what it is and how to cook it. In Philippines, we don't have any car, but here we do, and telephone. But in Philippines, we have our own house, and here we just rent. That's the only difference. And my mom doesn't have any job in Philippines because it's hard to find. But here she has part-time and full-time jobs. They said that there's more future in this country. I'm different from them. How I speak, my dialect, my color.
My name is
I'm the king of complicated stuff. Over 50 million people from 140 countries.
Vehicles not in a technical state
And they're still
required by
coming.
law. It doesn't
The funny
matter.
thing is, most of them are coming for the same reason they did 100 years ago. They're chasing a dream.
For some, the dream is urgent. These immigrants come from countries where finding enough food to live is a full-time job, where diseases and war are a constant threat, where chances of ever improving themselves are between bad and impossible.
Other immigrants dream of freedom.
Why are you all parked
Freedom
up
to wear
there?
what they want, to say what they want.
What's going
worship what
on?
they want.
For others, the dream is simply of a better job, a better school, being able to choose from 60 different breakfast cereals in the supermarket.
The bigger the dream, the higher the price. In the old days, many immigrants, known as indentured servants, didn't even have enough money to get here. In return for a one-way boat ticket to America, they agreed to work as long as 4 years without pay.
Some weren't even that lucky. They merely hopped on board and were auctioned off at the dock to the highest bidder.
Grim, but no more grim than the lives they left behind.
Millions of Irish immigrants came to America after the potato famine of 1805. Most were poor country folks who could neither read nor write and spoke mostly Gaelic. During the same period, Germany sent 6 million to the U.S. because of religious and political persecution. 5 million Italians poured into New York as a result of overpopulation at home that had 4,000 people living in a single city block. By 1960, New York City had more people with Italian parents than did the capital of Italy.
Whoa, 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 Michelle.
Come on, King. I was just about to get to the Chinese.
Well, okay, Michelle, but listen to yourself. 4 million, 6 million. This country's only so big. Where did everybody go?
Chicago, New
Texas.
York, Boston, San Francisco. These are big cities. How do you think they got that way? Many of the Irish settled in Boston
It
and
just
New
seemed
York.
like another
The
sad
Chinese,
case
San Francisco.
of people
The
killing
Germans
each other.
headed to the Midwest to farm.
What did they do over here?
They built America. That's what they did. They built the railroads.
Oh,
and
the
factories.
VCD.
They
Oh
picked the
man, I
farm
love the
crops. They took care of
VCD.
other people's children. But that didn't stop people from complaining about immigrants.
They had fighting that war began. That's why I came in here, because I'm a refugee. I have no choice in there. My house, my flat,
Man, I think the AVGN would be. I would love the AVGN to show Stinkabod being born.
And Croatia was
like
peacefully. Then there
be
was
perfect.
very expensive. They had a lot of refugees, and I went to one organization, and they said, okay, you're refugees. They gave us tickets. They took us on planes. Say gonna be in New York, take I-94, and come to San Francisco. We were very glad because we didn't even think about welcome to a little movie to the freedom.
I used to burn anime to like in the early 2000s fan subbed anime. I would burn it to VCDs because I didn't have a DVD burner, but I did have a CD burner that could do VCD. So I would do that, and I would put that in the DVD player that I had.
Yeah, everything from house. My mother sold piano. She's a professor of piano. She sold piano for 15 kilos of food. You know, that piano, she had really loved this piano.
Okay. Driving normal.
Years old, from her grandmother. I had watched a lot of movies, and I thought America is everything nice. Everybody has a nice car. Everybody has a lot of money. Everybody has a nice job. Like in a movie from a country. They're more happy than Latino people which are arriving here, or Chinese. They're really mad at it. I don't know why. That's not good. That's racist. They do not like that well. But first time they was like sorry and Bosnian people, and they said that's okay. That's why I'm illegal here. They gave me I-94, like Bosnian refugee, and that's not so nice what they do with the people. Catch them, bring them back to their countries. I think that's not so nice.
Hold it. How could anyone complain about immigrants? The colonists were immigrants. We're all immigrants.
I'm with this kid.
Even Native Americans came over that polar ice cap and down through Alaska or something like that.
Yeah, well, haven't you ever heard someone say, "It's mine, I saw it first"?
If you're gonna play that game, the Native Americans should win.
Yeah, well, this game isn't fair. The complainers have different rules for the days when we pushed Indians off their land. They say, that was then, and this is
Okay,
now.
that's fine.
Keep America for Americans.
We can only take so many people, Michelle. I don't want to sound selfish or anything, but what's wrong with wanting to keep our own country for ourselves?
Oh, nothing's really wrong with that. It's just silly.
It is silly.
No, not baloney. How about a chocolate cake with strawberry frosting?
Whoa! Where did that come from? How did you do that?
Never mind that. It's yours.
For what?
For being lucky. Oh, and here's a frisbee, too. Championship quality.
Sometimes I don't know about you, Michelle. I have a sneaking suspicion this may be one of your tricks. But this time, I'm not asking any questions. Thanks. Let's have a piece of cake and then play some catch.
There, now that's the American spirit.
What are you talking about?
I gave you, no strings attached, a huge cake and frisbee. So what's the first thing you do? Ask me to have a piece of cake with you and invite me to play with your frisbee.
It's just that it's more fun to eat with someone else. Besides, how am I going to play frisbee by myself?
When Jefferson and Franklin and the rest of those guys established the United States of America, they invited people all over the world to come and join them. Why? The same two reasons. It's more fun to enjoy riches with others. And yes, even more selfishly, they knew they couldn't build this great country all by themselves. They needed help.
And we still do. Who mends our clothes? Who cleans our hotel rooms? Who drives our taxis? Who picks our vegetables? By far, most of these workers are immigrants. Why? Because these jobs don't pay very much, and no one else is willing to take them.
In the mid-1800s, anyone who wanted to could come to America. But there were those who wanted to change all that. A new political party sprouted called the Know Nothing Party to keep the Irish from entering the country.
The fucking Know Nothings.
And if anyone asked about them, they claimed to know nothing.
Congress began passing laws to hold back the flow of immigrants. In 1882, a law was passed allowing no Chinese at all into this country. Later, a law banned people who could not read or write from entering the United States. Soon, there were way more slots allowed for people from richer countries, the ones where the need was greatest.
In 1965, this system was abolished and a new fare system was put into place that was more like what we have now.
First day, well, I had a lot of dreams about America. When I was in Brazil, I think America is like a paradise, but it's not. When I came my first day was incredible, was very good. But the day was coming, day after day, and I don't think the same anymore. I think Americans just a simple country, like all the countries, all the same. You just can make better money and better life, but you cannot have what I had in my country. It's a friendship and parents, something like that. I like America. America's a very good country, but it's like how they.
That's why we have to learn, because we are immigrants. I'm not immigrant, but I feel like immigrant. We have no money, no one cannot see us.
I don't know if birds
don't
can
know how to
die
speak
in this
good
game
English.
if they hit the
Only
windmills.
way we can survive is to learn. That's the only way.
Oh, freedom. I love that. I love freedom.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
All right,
All
kids,
people
only
respect
51
other
minutes to
people.
LA. Are you excited?
Yeah, that's good. Especially in San Francisco. It's
Because
a
we
lot
have-
of people, different races, different nations, different cultures, all way different. If he's, Mexican, Brazilian, black, white, green, yellow, I don't care about it. If man is good, if he has good soul.
Okay, but if you see someone
I don't
that's
care.
green,
I mean, for
you should
especially
help
with the
them
Russian
out. They're
guys,
probably
with
very
guys,
sick.
I don't know, stuff. Whoever is me is my friend, doesn't matter who it is. First time people come, and they brought their families the whole time. You have in here people who are born in here, their father born in here, and they are from Mexico. And, that's good, but, a lot of people come in here. In my country, they say they're gonna occupy America. That's good.
Some people has a family. They want to give to their children a better condition. They want to give them a better condition to go to school or to eat better, something like that.
Today, the biggest immigration problem is the huge number of people who enter the United States illegally. Some people are allowed in legally to travel or study, but then don't return to their homes when they're supposed to. Others sneak across the border. When illegal aliens are caught, they're sent back home. But if they have a baby here, that child is a U.S. citizen, whether their parents are legal or not.
Many Americans complain that illegal aliens take jobs away from Americans, that they threaten U.S. industry because they work hard. They survive on these low wages by living in subhuman conditions, sometimes as many as 10 family members living in one room.
But illegal immigration isn't the only thing people complain about. The phone book in San Jose, California has 14 clones of Nuyens. That's a Vietnamese name. And only 8 columns of people with that good old American name of Jones.
Well, who cares?
That's enough to make some Americans fear there are too many legal immigrants these days.
Imagine going to the supermarket and seeing nothing but hamburger buns, ketchup, and mustard on the shelves. In the freezer compartment, only hamburger patties. So you decide to go to a restaurant, and up and down the street, all you can find are hamburger joints. I like a good burger and all, but that would be kind of boring, don't you think? What would we do without bagels, waffles, burritos, egg rolls, and pasta?
Of
I
course,
mean,
immigrants
good
bring more than
point.
tasty food recipes with them. They bring ideas, customs, music that all get mixed together into a scrumptious feast we call the melting pot. They bring the willingness to work hard and sacrifice, something we used to call the American spirit.
Perhaps most importantly, they bring a dream of a country where men and women can start at the bottom and rise as far as their talents and energy allow.
My mom's in Mexico. I am here with my brothers.
Driving
And
across
my
all
sister,
lanes.
but I miss
Hey,
my mom.
we're in LA.
I came here to study and learn English. I like America.
And that's the big idea.
You should go to Victorville. I wonder if there is Victorville in this game. Ah!
Hi-oh there, Boomers. This is Jessica Strong with all the news that happened while you were asleep. Just when you thought all the baseball strike nonsense couldn't get any, Major League Baseball sent a notice to little all over the country, saying that if they wanted to use big league team names on their jerseys, they would have to cough up $6 per player. Yeah, I know that sounds like a lot of money coming out of your piggy banks, Boomers. You guys really need it, don't you think? While we're on the subject of money, you may have heard that there is a big movement to cut out wasteful government spending. No one's going to complain about that. The question is, why are they always talking about money being wasted on kids in schools, while there never seems to be enough money for the military? Example. Arts programs, as usual, are a popular target right now. Last year, $21 million was spent on arts
This
education.
kid's right. I'm sorry.
High
Go
school
off,
kids all over
King.
the United States.
Go off, Queen. You're
$25 million
right.
was spent on the National Endowment for the Arts. That's money that goes to promising artists to use for their work. Sounds like a lot of money, right? It does until you find out how much we spend on military bands.
That's true.
193 million smackers. Got it. They say schools are wasting money teaching us about art, and they're spending 8 times as much to make sure there are enough people in their nice shiny uniform, nice shiny horns, and for all
Go
the nice
off!
little ceremonies.
Go
Oh, well,
off!
Look on the bright side. The military could have spent it on 6 wrenches in a toy mile. A teachers association in Ontario, Canada, trying to reduce the level of violence in language by suggesting replacements for common expressions. Example, instead of saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, you could say, there are different ways to solve a problem. Instead of take a stab at it, use go for it. Instead of get away with murder, say, avoid the consequences. Instead of you're dead meat, they want you to try, you're in serious trouble. Well, if you ask me, these changes mean that yes, they do have a point. I mean blunt edge, but I mean posterior. Aw, heck, maybe I better keep my trap shut.
Reasonable. Reasonable.
Okay,
Don't worry about the damage penalty.
Bicycle racer who has won about every bike racer.
All right,
facing
what
the
job
planet.
offers do you have here?
The Boomerang. That's the good news. The bad news is
We got
it costs
Wichita Falls.
$2,499.
Oh, that's all the way back,
Bad
huh?
news is that's only for the
You
frame,
could also go to
seats,
Roswell.
handlebars. Do you want stuff like wheels and brakes?
Fuck it, let's go to
Another
Roswell.
1,200 smackers. Don't usually give business references.
Reasonable.
Class of Holden, Maine.
All right,
Last
before we go,
project, they packaged a
let me
snowball
just
in a
have a little bit more
container
kombucha.
using dry ice and sawdust, and sent it 3,000 miles through the mail to Southern California and throwable.
Let's go.
Science student on its arrival and found it only shrunk 1 centimeter. Finally, an invention whose time has come. Patent number 5,356,030 was issued for a mechanical arm that attaches to the wall or floor. The arm allows lonely couch potatoes to hop up and slap a high five after a particularly exciting moment on the tube. All they need is an audio track to go with it to say, yeah! Your news update, saying if you don't like the news, go out and make some of your own.
Once
All right,
every year,
kids.
our government sends a questionnaire to every person in the country to find out stuff about the American people. They ask questions like, do you own a car? How much money do you make? Do you have any pets? To tell you the truth, those kinds of questions don't really tell us what we want to know about all of you listeners out there. So this year, we will be conducting our very own Boomerang Kids Census. We don't care about your microwave oven. We want to know important stuff, like
If you had to invent a new sound for the dentist drill,
I am 12 years old, and I came up with a very different sound, and this is what it sounds like. My name is Miles Jackson, and I'm 9 years old. I live in Charlemont Avenue.
That was one of the sickest pulls
the
I've done in this game.
toothbrush to sound like a trumpet, because it sounds more smooth, more fun and more beautiful.
Okay.
And I'm 10.5 years old, and I live in
All right, there's a lot of gas over there. I need to fill up on gas, so let's do that real quick.
Sound like birds, because I like listening to. I'm from Glen Rock, Wyoming, and 14 years old. If I had a choice
I'll go to the other one.
going to the dentist, I would have it sound like a mountain stream with water running over a rock.
If you want to be part of our Kids Census, write down your name and phone number, and some Saturday morning, we might give you a call.
Alright, gas is in here.
What's green and grows on trees?
Well, leaves.
Woody woodpecker.
Woody Woodpickle. How we feel about Woody
Why did the
Woodpickle?
cross-eyed teacher lose his job?
Why?
Because he couldn't control his pupils.
What do you get if you cross a chicken with Rick Lair? What do you get if you cross a hyena with a man-eating tiger? I don't know, but if it laughs, you'd better join in.
All right, kids, grab yourself some
With the Atlantic.
some hot dogs. Y'all like hot dogs, right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the jokes are never good in this show.
I wonder what it is about certain animals that make people hate them. You know the animals I'm talking about. Snakes, rats, bats. Of course, animals aren't good or bad. Boa constrictors, monkeys, and butterflies all fit into the web of life somehow. Still, you gotta admit, some animals are more
It is Bucky that is on my hat. I'm wearing a
and
Bucky's
hyenas are at
hat.
the wrong ends of the cuddly list. Even the Bushman in Africa keeps an arm's length from the hyenas. And now that we've all seen The Lion King 147 times,
That was me.
hyenas' nasty reputation has come to North America. Maybe it's the way they sound. There's nothing quite like the ghoulish whoop of a hyena cutting through the night music on the Serengeti Plain.
Delicious kombucha.
Nothing, that is, except the sounds of a hyena reducing a 400-pound wildebeest into a greasy spot on the grass in 45 minutes.
Yeesh.
Maybe we are repulsed by hyenas by the way they look. The spotted hyena is the most common species, and most are about the size of a dog, although the head mama of a clan can weigh up to 130 pounds. Their bodies are strong and muscular. Some African tribes believe witches ride atop hyenas' backs, casting spells and causing their backs to slope downwards.
What does it even
Most
want me
have
to do
amazing-looking
here?
scars all over their faces and bodies. They picked up during feeding frenzies with their pals. But it's the grin that really gives you the shivers. All they
Okay, I
have
think
to
I
do
know
is
what I'm
open
doing.
their mouth to breathe, and they look sinister. Their
Here,
mouth hangs
right?
naturally in a crazed-looking smile, with upside-down Dracula fangs jutting upwards from the bottom of their mouth. And they have a way of looking at you without raising their heads, as if they're invisible or something. While hyenas sound spooky and look scary, it's what they do best that gives them the worst reputation. They eat anything and everything that happens to be around.
Cool.
Hyenas are mostly known as scavengers. Scavengers are happy to eat what they find. Maybe it's an animal which dies of natural causes. Maybe it's the leftovers of a lion meal. Maybe just a bone or two they found out on the plain. In fact, hyenas use another scavenger, vultures, to locate dead animals.
Cool.
While they're relaxing in the mud hole, they often keep their eyes peeled.
I think they're going to
the
add the
sky.
East Coast eventually
they know that
to
circling vultures mean there's probably something worth eating down below.
to American Truck Simulator.
But hyenas don't need
For
to
all
wait
you
around for
yinzers.
leftovers. They're brutal killing machines. They specialize in wearing down their prey with nasty bites to the leg and back.
Cool.
They're not all that fast, but they have amazing stamina. They can lope along at a fast pace for over a couple of miles. If the wounded animal turns around to face its attacker, there's always another hyena sneaking around to strike it again. Once their victim is
I should have
down,
looked for
it's a
Victorville on the map. That's my
Feeding
my
is
fault.
so frenzied among all the gore and blood, the hyenas sometimes chomp off one of the ears or noses of their buddies.
Yikes!
Animal researchers once counted 52 hyenas eating one wildebeest.
It just seemed like another sad case
Favorite
of
meals
people
of
killing
wildebeest,
each other.
Sure
zebras,
is.
and gazelle. Unfortunately for the hyena, there's another animal who has the same tastes. None other than the king of the jungle. That means hyenas often have to do the work of bringing down some food, only to have the king come swooping down on them to steal it
We're in
away.
Riverside County,
Now,
people.
hyenas may be vicious little creatures, but nobody messes with the king. So while the lion takes its usual leisurely lunch in a hot African afternoon, hyenas
The sky
have
is
to
not
hang
this blue
around
in
and
Riverside
hope,
County,
A,
by the way,
the
from what I
lion gets full
remember.
and walks away, or B, falls asleep. But if you're a hyena with the idea of reclaiming your wildebeest from a sleeping lion, you better do it so very quietly, because lions don't play fair.
That is true.
Hyenas live in clans of between 30 and 80 hyenas. They hunt together, play together, and protect each other. Clans each have their own special territory. When hyenas in one clan wander into the territory of another clan, it's cause for a rumble. And if an enemy hyena is captured, it's mauled, sometimes it's even killed and eaten. Okay, hyenas may be kind of nasty animals, but they do have one thing right.
What?
Their cubs live in underground dens, and no adults are allowed.
Hell
That's
yeah,
mainly to protect the babies from
the
other
Hyena
hyenas
King
who've been
Kids
known to
Club.
chow down on them. I wonder, lions eat zebras and antelope,
Yeah.
and they're downright mean to their cubs.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we love lions. While hyenas are animals we love to hate.
Yeah.
I wonder what makes Simba any better than Ed.
Exactly, right?
Let's go with another natural wonder. That's it for this issue, Boomers. Stay tuned. Next issue, we tell you about an organization that has saved thousands of lives around the world by writing letters.
Okay.
We get to hear another story from that elevator man.
So take care of each other out there, Boomers, and remember, it all comes back.
I'm gonna honk at this cop car. All right, I gotta pull over here to change tapes.
Boomerang is brought to you
Okay,
by Books
please,
and the rest of your
please.
friends at the public library.
It's fine. We're good. We're still alive. See? It's fine. There used to be hyenas in North America? What the fuck? What happened? Did we kill them all like we did with the dodo? Guys, okay, chat, I've never mentioned this before, but nothing pisses me off more than the death of the dodo. I wish I could have met a dodo bird. They're so cool. They're so just like these gentle little turkey idiots. Oh, okay. They were in America before humans. Okay, fair enough. Still, I feel bad about the dodos. If we revive the dodo,
Congratulations, Fred.
we're
Good
so
idea.
back if we get back the dodo.
36 Boomerang tape. That's 3 whole volumes. And get this, If you go anywhere on US Air or Delta Airlines this summer,
Okay.
you will be able to listen to us on your very own Boomerang channel.
Really?
Cool.
Wow, they played this on airplanes,
Seems like
apparently.
Just yesterday, you guys thought I was too little to be on the tapes.
Yeah, well now you're a pro.
Something smells fishy, Jessica. Are you trying to get a discount on one of my sandwiches or something?
You do seem to be getting pretty handsome, Freddy.
We better change the subject. Josie, what's going on over at the time machine?
I'm going back in time to speak with Zora Neale Hurston, a writer who collected American folklore back in the 1930s.
Cool.
King, the Bureau of Big Ideas?
Get your pencil and paper ready, Boomers. I'm going to tell you about an organization that can make you out to be a real-life hero.
Speaking of heroes, our favorite elevator operator has a story about belief. Jan Robson, better known as Freddie Finkelhammer, has another episode of
Freddie
Weird Words. And Toby
Finkelhammer.
sends us an audio postcard from Moab.
Finkelhammer.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your thinking machines.
My name is Rachel.
Could you
Gray,
imagine
and I
being
love
on an
Boomerang
airplane and putting on
here
your
to help you keep up
putting
with
on your
what's up.
headphones and hearing
We've got
them talk
stories,
about like
songs,
that
kids' views
people
of the
dying
news,
and
some of
shit,
the
like getting
wildest
murdered and killed and
ever
whatever. That would have been
So
so
dust off
cool.
those baseball
Oh my
gloves,
god.
Put on the old earphones and feed your head.
I guess if you want to recreate that, you can just download these from archive, because these are all on archive, and then just put them on an MP3 player and listen to them that way.
Where did you get this? And Tommy said, you forgot it on the table. Of course, that was really the waitress's tip, and we had to go all the way back. Tipping is a tradition in America, just like it is in many other countries around the world. In the old days, a tip was supposed to be a reward for someone who did an extra good job. Maybe a cab driver or a waiter, or maybe someone who carried your bags to a motel. But these days, the pay for those jobs is so low, tips are the most important part of some people's incomes. And if you don't leave a tip, you're either cheap, mean, or a little forgetful. At least that's how they see it down at the old rhubarb and banana sandwich stand.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Fred. 2 R&Bs, please. Easy on the brown sugar.
Come right up.
You know what, Fred? You ought to have a place for people to sit down.
I
and
would
eat their
love to hear
sandwiches.
kids talking about
Maybe you
O.J.
should put a
Simpson on the
radio out there or
plane.
something.
Wow. You mean Freddy's Rhubarb and Banana Outdoor Restaurant?
Yeah, something like that. And maybe I could be your waitress. People could sit down at the table and I could take their orders. Get them a soda and deliver their sandwich and stuff like that.
Wow, Alicia, that's a great idea. I don't have enough money to pay you. But tell you what, you do all the waitressing and you can keep all the tips.
Tips?
Sure. Customers leave extra money on the table just for people like
Oh
you.
yeah, we had Channel
My
1 as
sister's a
well for some
waitress at a
reason.
restaurant,
And
she
I remember
makes
mostly the
$50
Skittles
in
ads. There were
tips
so
some
many
days.
Skittles ads.
Wow, okay, it's a deal. So Freddie put 3 lawn tables out on the grass and some folding chairs. He set up a radio, and Alicia nervously waited for her first customer. It was King. Alicia gave him the royal treatment. And as he was getting up to leave, Alicia made sure this customer knew the score. King, are you forgetting something? Like maybe a tip for the waitress? 2 cents. I yes-sirred him. I dusted
Did
off
any of you
acted all
have Channel
nice.
1
He
in your
was me,
school
too,
and you had a teacher that hated
cents?
Channel 1, but you know that they actually wouldn't let you turn off Channel 1? So did you have a
people are
teacher
what they call
who would tape over Channel 1 with like a piece of cardboard or
they're
whatever?
supposed to
Because
leave
that's what
the
one of
tip.
my teachers did.
On the other, they don't like to spend money if they don't have to. You don't have to leave tips. So you know which hand wins. Shake it off, Alicia. Here comes Mr. Clancy.
No, all my teachers hated
He's no
Channel 1.
cheapskate.
Hello there,
Because they were like, this is cut, because they would show Channel 1 during class time. So they were like, this is cutting into my class time. They fucking hated it.
Lunch.
Mr. Clancy owned the corner market down the street, and he had personally sold Alicia.
Okay,
37
okay. I went to a
half-gallons of
private
milk over the
Catholic
past
school
year,
through high
so
school,
she knew
and my
he
private
was
Catholic
worth some
school
money.
straight up had
She
Channel
took his
1
order and
because
served his sandwich
they,
and asked him
if I
if she
recall,
could get him
Channel 1 would
something
pay
else
you
about
to show them
26 times.
in the classroom.
Then,
So
when she brought
my
him the
school
bill,
was like,
he
I
started
love
scratching his
money.
beard. Is something wrong, sir?
Yeah, we did have a,
Okay, 17 cents.
Channel 1 was a program, a news program with ads that they would show in classes, and
You really gave me
yeah,
good service, so
it
I
was
looked at
really
the bill and left me
stupid.
20% extra as a tip. That means for every $1, I leave another 20 cents. Now, usually I leave about 15%. If the service isn't so hot, maybe even 10%.
But today, if your bill would have been, let's say, $100.
Then my tip would have been $20.
Wow, $20 instead of 35 cents. Even if I do the same amount of running around and I'm just as nice?
Even if you do the same amount of running around and you're just as nice.
There you go, Alicia.
Yeah, speaking of
35
cyberpunk dystopia, I mentioned it in my in the last RetroPal stream, but anyone else have those book covers that had like Pepsi and Coke ads on them?
Freddie didn't raise his prices. Instead, Alicia started telling jokes, wearing fancy hats.
It's so
and
funny
singing
that my
songs,
Catholic school took
just
so
to make
much money
sure
from
the customers remembered the tip.
Coca-Cola and like
So,
Channel 1 and
remember,
stuff like
boomers,
that.
The next time you see your mom or dad lay down some money at the end of a dinner, they are not forgetting it. This is Rachel Gregg. The sound of that music tells us it's time for letters from our subscribers.
Letters!
About the funny things grown-ups do.
The Creation
Here's a letter from
Museum is
Samantha
underwritten by Coca-Cola?
Madison, Alabama.
That's funny.
Dear Boomerang, when my mom says it's 8 o'clock and time to go to bed, I look at the clock and it's really 7:55. Why can't I stay up 5 more minutes?
Dear Samantha, I'm not sure what grade you're in, but one of these years in math, you're going to learn all about rounding off. $6.99 is $7. 497 is 500.
Hey kids, we're back in
And
Arizona!
755 is- Yep, you've got it. 8 o'clock.
And we're driving in the middle of the lane! Let me fix that.
Next time your mom tells you you can go downtown for an ice cream after you dig dandelions out of the yard for an hour.
Oh, I didn't
would
grow
say
up normal.
31 minutes
I grew up
close
very
enough.
abnormal. It's
Here's a
cool.
letter from Cassie Cook in Hoopa, California.
Hoopa hoopa. Dear Boomerang, when I'm late for school, my mom always says, okay, go to the car and I'll be out in a minute. After 10 minutes, I go in and she's on the phone with a friend. Why can't she just take me and then talk with her friend?
It's called procrastination, and it means why do something now when you can put it off until later? Like maybe promising your little sister you'll get a glass of juice in just a sec.
I wonder if
15
kids
minutes
now
later,
have
you're
like
reading your
Coca-Cola
book.
and Pepsi ads on their books, like, you know.
Finally, here's
Or
a
do they
letter
have
from
like
Harold
phone
Townsend
ads
in
for
Portland,
like the modern kids?
Dear Boomerang, we share chores in our family, but it doesn't seem fair because I work so much faster than my sister. And when I get done, Dad just gives another job.
Harold, sounds like you want to work by the job instead of by the hour.
That's it for Big Talk, Boomers. Send us your letters about the funny things grown-ups do.
I have no idea what
Maybe
schools are
you'll
like
hear
now. I'm
yours in the
curious,
next issue of
but
Boomerang.
like,
At the turn of the century, a 6-year-old girl named Zora Neale Hurston
I just
used to play
imagine
for
that
hours
it's
with her
just like
make-believe
TikTok
friends.
ads instead now.
There was Miss Cornshuck, the ear of corn with lovely silk hair. She wanted to marry Mr. Sweetsmell. He was a bar of scented soap. The Reverend Doorknob would do the ceremony. Zora was blessed with a wild imagination, but she was the first person to give credit for her inspiration to the storytellers who gathered on the front porch of the local store in her hometown. Zora loved the rhythm and joy she heard in these tall tales. After her mother died and father remarried, she set out on her own to be a writer. You have to understand what America was like back then to appreciate the difficulty of Zora's dream. Women couldn't even vote. Slavery had long since ended, but southern states still operated under the Jim Crow system, which meant separate schools, hospitals, restaurants, even train cars for white people, and separate ones for Afro-Americans. Life was separate, all right, but not exactly equal. In 1916, there were 11 million Afro-Americans in the United States, but only 67 black schools. It was little wonder that 3 out of 10 blacks couldn't even sign their name. So for young Zora, an Afro-American woman from the South with 20 cents to her name, the dream of becoming a writer was thought by most to be pure craziness. But somehow, some way, she managed to survive. She worked her way through night school, then college. 2 awards for her short stories earned the attention of a rich New York woman who helped struggling artists. Zora convinced the woman, who she called godmother, the stories like the ones her townspeople were swapping were in danger of dying out. Zora's godmother hired her to go south to collect Afro-American folklore for a book. I'm going back in time to New York City. It's 1932, the middle of the Depression, when teachers, farmers, and even bakers across America are having a hard time making ends meet.
All right, I'm overtaking this
Zora
guy.
has
Fuck
just
this.
returned from her second trip down south collecting folklore. She is rehearsing a
You think
play
you're
called
better
The
than
Great
me,
Days
gas
she
truck?
put
I'm gonna
together
beat
from the
ya.
stories.
Okay, let's call it a day.
Thanks, Miss Hurston, for taking time to meet with me. Zora, what exactly is folklore?
Folklore is the art people make before they even know there is such a thing as art. Don't let that word throw you, honey. Folklore is just a store-bought name for stories. Road maps to the way people think and talk.
I don't think
grew
I'm
up in a
overtaking this
tiny
other
town
car.
in Florida that was home to 5 lakes, 300 brown-skinned people, 300 good swimmers, a whole lot of guava, 2 churches, a school.
Oh, I'm
and
doing
no
it. I'm
jelly
overtaking
house.
him.
On a moonlit night, 3/4 of the town between 7 and 17 would be out on the Bermuda grass, playing hide and whoop, and chick ma chick. But the best part of growing up was hanging out at the store for the line.
Boom, I beat him. I'm a better
Josie,
car. I'm a better
that
truck.
store was a heart
Eat shit, other
spring
truck.
town.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, we're cool.
After a long day of shuffling along in someone else's skin, the men would sit down on Joe's porch to see who could tell the tallest tale. There was long, drawn-out lies about Brer Rabbit and the devil and the buzzard. Then there was the short kind. Yes, sir, the wind was blowing. It was blowing so hard it blew a hole right over the ground. Why, that's not windy, someone else would chime in. I knew a wind that blew so bad it scattered the days of the week around till Sunday showed up sometime after Tuesday. Now, fact is, we children were never allowed to so much as put 2 feet down together at the same time there at that store. At least not the Hurston children, because some of that line wasn't for children's ears. But then some of it was too. And I got awful good at dragging my heels in and out whenever I was sent there for something. Oftentimes I hung around while Mama was waiting on me for sugar and coffee to finish off dinner, until her voice lifted over the treetops to let me know her patience was gone. "Zora," she'd yell, "if you don't come back here." That voice had the sound of switching sticks in it, so I'd have to go. But only after hearing bits and pieces of those stories to hang in my ear. You see, Josie, people can live like slave ships and shoes. It is these songs and stories that give them the strength to keep on going. I see so much genius in the words and rhyme and metaphor, genius that fills my heart with pride and respect. And I think it is important for me to collect these stories before they're
Back
gone,
under the cool tunnel.
so people the whole world over can appreciate their beauty.
How did you start writing, Zora?
When I was growing up, I asked more questions than grown-ups like to hear. I was sassy. Even begged rides with strangers in front of my house. My
I'm
papa
fine.
said it didn't
I'm
do
driving
for black
fine.
people to have too much spirit. He had a taste of what happens to black people who didn't know their place, and he was scared that I would end up swinging from a rope somewhere.
Jesus.
It was Mama gave me that spirit. She was always telling me to jump for the sun. You might not land on it, but at least you would get your feet off the ground. But when I was 13, Mama died. She died at sunset. And that day, it seemed the sun went down to get away from me. I started going to night school, and one evening
It
the
just
teacher
seemed
read
like
us
another
a
sad
wonderful
case
poem.
of people killing each
As
other.
these powerful words rolled off teacher's tongue, I knew then and there I had discovered a new world. My business was going to be the word business. I packed up for New York. No job, no hope, but plenty of prospects.
Miss Hurston, I'm amazed at how much hope there is in your stories.
Growing up in Eatonville was a goods life. It wasn't until a trip to Jacksonville that I discovered the funny ways of certain white people, with rules about who could drink out of what drinking fountain. Of course, up north here is no better, just different. But I've got no great sorrow clogging up my soul or lurking behind my eyes. Why? When people treat me as less than a human being, it doesn't make me angry. It astonishes me how a person can be so ignorant as to deny themselves the pleasure of my company. Mind you, I've had my moments. I've been to Sorrow's kitchen and licked out all the pots. But I've also stood on the peaks
It's a lot of pots.
wrapped in rainbows. There are always going to be disappointments in your life, Josie. Hope is the ointment heaven gives you to make them heal. I remember when I was 6 or 7, I figured the moon was my own special friend. I knew that for sure because it followed me no matter which way I ran. Now, Carrie Roberts was my own best chum, but one day she broke my heart, telling me that I wasn't so special. The moon followed her all the time, too. We argued back and forth, and then decided to prove it with a race.
I will not crash again.
We stood back to back and took off in different directions. Yay, I cried. You see, it's following me. No, sir, she yelled back. It's following me. We finally quit each other, mad as can be. But we didn't stay
That
mad
truck
for
is
long.
ticking. Look at it.
It wasn't but 2 weeks later, Carrie and I were sitting
It
up a
fixed
tree
itself.
looking out at the horizon. We started wondering what life was like out there.
Bone store.
things just
God,
dropped right
kids, we
off
should
or
follow them to the
tucked
bone
under like the
store.
hem of a dress.
Get us some bones.
We made a date to get up the next morning and to walk out to the end of the world to find out. I could hardly sleep that night. For so long, I had wanted to know about the end of things. Carrie was late in meeting, and when I went to find her, she told me that she was having second thoughts. It looked to her like the horizon was further off than you could get in one day, and that we'd be sure to get a whipping if we were trapped there all night. Of course, I was awfully disappointed.
Cool
But
moon.
She had a point, and I decided to put the trip off until I had something to ride on. You know, like a white horse or something. Maybe this play here is my white horse, Josie. My ride out to the horizon.
The Great Day didn't make much money, but everyone loved it and gave Zora enough confidence to continue pushing against all odds. And she kept pushing for the rest of her life. She wrote a successful novel, a handful of stories for magazines, and some
Training
newspaper
system.
articles.
Always
She worked as a
covered the
drama
system
teacher and a book
component.
editor. But money was
Thank you
always
for
a
the
problem.
50 bits, Episci.
The problem?
Welcome.
There was never enough of it. To make things even worse, Zora's work was criticized by other Afro-American writers who complained she was ignoring the struggles in the everyday lives of Afro-Americans. They said that while the people of Eatonville were dancing around Joe Clark's porch, people all over the United States were suffering because their skin was brown or black. This hurt Zora. She knew all about segregation and bigotry. She had presented her play about Afro-American folklore in theaters where Afro-Americans weren't even allowed. In her way of thinking, the best way to deal with these injustices was not to dwell on the sadness and trouble her people felt, but to show white America the spirit and pride of her black characters. Zora died in a county poorhouse without even enough money for a gravestone.
For real?
Only in the past few years have we begun to honor her amazing talent, energy, and spirit. Zora Neale Hurston was a woman. She was an Afro-American, and she was from the South. But as one of her friends said after she died, Zora could have been an Eskimo. She still would have been Zora. This is Josie Marin with another turning point in American history.
Again, I'm just imagining these kids listening to this on like Delta Airlines and becoming radicalized.
That people see events in black and white just when it seems all clear and sunny. There comes a time when you can't tell what's wrong from right.
It's your best friend's birthday, and he or she has invited you to do something special. 2 days before the birthday, someone else gives you 2 front-row tickets to this incredible concert or sports game, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What would you do? On side 2, you'll hear what some of our subscribers have to say.
Yeah, the weird proprietary jack they used to have on airline headphones.
Combed his hair with a broken chair and died with a toothpick in his ear.
You shouldn't put a toothpick in your ear, by the way.
Hey there, Fred. What's been cooking?
Oh, I watched the memorial for all those poor people in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
You notice there was a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest, an evangelical minister, Protestant minister, all these people who believe different stuff, praying for the same thing.
Yeah, nice, huh?
Yeah, but I don't get it. If God listens to people in all these religions, why does it matter what religion you're in?
Maybe it's like baseball. I'm a White Sox fan because I was born in a town near Chicago into a family that rooted for the White Sox. My buddy Joe was born in New York into a family that rooted for the Yankees, so he was a Yankee fan. But we do have one thing in common. We both love baseball. Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, all have something in common too. They believe there's something out there bigger than we are. Then again, they do disagree on a few things. Some believe God is this big old scary monster that's gonna send you downstairs to burn if you're bad.
It's cool.
Others say God is so amazingly kind that he forgave
Learn about
his
religion,
own
kids.
son's murderers. Some people believe God is a woman. Some believe God is in the moon, the sun, and the sea. Some will tell you that their believing stuff is the way it is, and yours is wrong. Well, that's silly. Believing stuff comes out of your heart, and no one can tell you what that stuff should be. And worse yet, some people do pretty nasty things in the name of God, like the Nazis in World War II said God was on their side. Right. I always went to church with my family. I was an altar boy and sang in the choir. I remember when the 10 Commandments movie came to our theater, I saw it 6 times.
What?
I went home and liberated Henry from every cross in the house.
Henry?
In our church, people have statues of a man nailed to the cross. It's one of those weird religion mysteries, you know. He was God and man at the same time. Anyway, on every cross right above his head is a little sign that says I-N-R-I. It turns out it means something in Greek. Of course, I didn't know that then. I just figured God's real name was Henry. But even though Henry and I were on a first-name basis, he always seemed like this movie star I heard a lot about and saw on TV and everything, but who I never really got to know. All that changed one frosty November day. Our school team was playing basketball. I was sitting on the bench as usual, and we were down by 12 points with 3 minutes to go. I wanted to win this one real badly for some reason, so I said, "Okay, Henry, if you're really out there, show me your stuff. We win, I'll eat my little sister's cafeteria peas for the next month." You know how you always dream about coming off the bench and winning a big game? Well, it didn't happen. Not to me, anyway. Instead, the coach put in Tom O'Halloran, and he went absolutely bazonkers, making 5 quick shots, then scoring the winning points at the buzzer. Now, the chances of old Hallyhoo scoring 12 points in any game were slightly better than the chances of Illinois breaking off into the ocean. The chances of him doing it in the last 3 minutes to win a game? Well, this wasn't a sign from Henry. This was a thunderbolt. My body filled up with this cool electricity. As all the other guys were jumping around and screaming, I quietly got dressed and
Oklahoma City bombing to learning about
the
God,
moment I walked in the church, I knew Tom O'Halloran's awesome display of power was no fluke. The building was empty, but I could hear all sorts of music. The flowers seemed to be growing before my very eyes. Statues seemed to be smiling like real people. The pictures on the stained glass windows stared right into my soul. The only thing I can compare this to is when I used to hang with Sal Amico. Salvatore could lift 200 pounds and dunk a basketball, and when I walked around with him for that week, he seemed to rub off on me. I felt well, better, bigger, and stronger, like the king of the world. Take the Salamigo feeling and multiply it by 5 gazillion and add a winning lottery ticket, and that's how I felt walking out of that church.
Hang with Henry. Man, what a pair. I can't even see him. Still, I know that he's there. How'd I get along without Henry? How'd he get along without me? It feels so darn good just to be.
Now, just because I had Henry as my pal, I didn't show off by throwing a football over the moon or anything. It's a weird thing. When you feel you can do anything, you don't have to do it. Look at Superman. He didn't run around bending iron bars all the time.
Don't worry.
Doesn't mean that my life stayed normal. Far from it. It's just that the stuff changed in weird ways. All of a sudden, I couldn't wait to jump out of bed. I was waking up, running out to the park, coming home, taking a shower, without Mom even telling me, before it was hardly even light. When I wasn't practicing guitar, I was reading about Benjamin Franklin or playing hoop or studying. Television, forget it. If something didn't make me bigger or smarter or faster, I didn't have time. Other strange things began to happen. My little sister spent my whole nickel collection, and I hardly got mad. My teacher kept me after school to say she had noticed I was contributing more in class. In basketball, I was making shots I had no business making. The coach made me a starter, and I played even better. Girls started passing notes around with my name on them. One cold day in January, it began snowing about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Big powdery flakes started drifting up against the houses and trees right after school. Having seen plenty of storms like this before, I had this definite feeling that school would be called off the next day. In fact, I was so sure that I threw myself into snow forts that afternoon instead of a term paper about the principal exports of South America. When I woke up in the morning, I ran to the window. It had snowed a lot, all right, but the sun was out, and it looked like cars were driving without a lot of trouble. The possibility of having school that day without the paper being done was too scary. So just to make sure, for the first time since the O'Halloran miracle, I decided to call in for some air support.
Hanging with Henry and me. Wonder if he's got whiskers. Wonder if he's a she. How'd I get along without Henry? How'd he get along without me? It feels so darn good just to be.
I started.
He's singing about Jesus. He's his relationship with Jesus, but instead of saying Jesus, he's calling him Henry.
In 15 minutes. I told her it was a snow day. She told me it was nothing of the sort. Huntley schools were closed, but Woodstock was open, and that I should get my school clothes on. I was a little queasy on the way to school. Obviously, Henry either got my message too late or he thought I lived in Huntley. Now I was going to have to make another special request for Mr. DeChantel to forget to ask for the papers. Of course, teachers never forget to ask for the papers. And so when 2:30 rolled around and there was no mention of term papers, I got the old swagger back. Then the bell rings and the girl in the front row whispered something to him. "Oh, thank you, Pamela. I almost forgot. Children, please hand your term papers in on the way out."
Wah wah.
Hitting Huntley with a snow day may have been Henry's idea of a joke, but having him remember about the papers at the last moment was too much to handle, and I steamed over to the church to find out what was going on. Once again, the church was empty, only this time it felt empty. More like an old warehouse than Henry's home. The statues seemed like statues once again, cold, stone-like, and the stained glass windows that stared right at me before seemed to be looking the other way. Get a hold of yourself here, Dave. Of course, the snowstorm. What would Henry be doing inside on a day like this? I headed out past the sledding hill to the woods. The cool breeze that had been at my back going to and
It is like Goodfellas voiceover, you're right. As far back as I can remember, I was worshiping Jesus.
I was looking forward to the protection of the trees, but when I got into the woods, they too had changed. Last October, Henry seemed to be in charge of
Alright, I gotta get gas.
ordering every leaf when to fall. Now it was every sparrow for itself. Squirrels darted around lost and confused like chickens with their heads cut off. There was no question now. Henry was gone. I lost.
Thank you, Toad T, for the follow.
I was on my own.
Hold on, I just gotta pull
I
on
half
in over
walked, half
here.
staggered over to the warming house at the pond. It was usually crowded with thawing skaters, but wind and bitter cold was too much for everyone. I was grateful at least for that. As all that wonderful electricity drained from my body, I just wanted to be alone. I slumped down against the wall. So that's it, huh? You're gonna give up just like that? Turned around to see an old woman sitting around the corner next to the heater. She was dressed in a zillion layers of shabby cloth coats. There were plastic bags wrapped around her ankles with rubber bands. I had seen old people like her muttering to themselves down at the square, so I didn't pay her any mind. I'm talking to you, young man. Well, you look like your best friend just got run over by a train or something. Nah.
See you, Vic. You don't like listening to this guy go on about his complicated relationship with Jesus as a child.
Only this crazy old lady knew how right she was. I couldn't believe I was even talking. Yeah. Tell me doing things I could never tell. Sounds like you got the caboose in front of the locomotive, son. Listen, there ain't no friend alive who always wants the other fella looking to him for help. You gotta be a team. I remember when I was first learning to ride a bike. I was scared to death of falling down and getting all skinned up, so my friend Jimmy Roberts would run along the country road behind me and hold me up. He promised me he would never let go, and I believed him. One day we were really moving. I was telling him how much fun it was, and he wasn't answering. I looked back, and he was this tiny little dot on the horizon. You know, the first thing I did, I fell down. I had been pedaling that bike for a half a mile all by myself, but the thought of me being able to ride that bike all by myself was too much. I believed in my friend.
Oh, total Adventures in Odyssey vibes. And yet, I don't think it's specifically Christian, considering how they're literally not using the name Jesus, which I think is very interesting.
And I stood up all hot and bothered. You're just some crazy
Yeah, the
old
Cubs
lady.
got cursed because... Not of Babe Ruth, but the Cubs got cursed, if I recall, because of a goat. A goat cursed the Cubs. Look it up, children.
Like that. But the farther I got, the more I started thinking about it. Could it possibly be? Maybe it wasn't Henry that made me start on the team. Maybe I had something to do with it.
If I recall, a guy wanted to attend a game with the goat, and they were like, the goat can't arrive, and the goat can't come in, and the guy was like, well, I curse you.
Where'd she go? Who? The old lady. She had a bunch of coats on? The man looked around. I haven't seen anyone else in here, son, but that sounds like the woman who feeds pigeons in the park. She has plastic bags wrapped. Yeah, that's her. Where does she live? What's her name? I'm not sure she has a home, but I think her name is Henrietta. Henrietta. I shook my head and smiled, repeating her name over and over again and laughing. I walked back outside. The wind had shifted. It pushed me all the way home.
Hot floor, Boomerang. Keep the faith, Fred.
Okay. And that's my relationship with God. That's how I feel.
What is it? What's the matter? Oh, what time is it? Oh, it's that time again. It's time for Weird Words.
All right, kids, time for Weird Words.
Hello, Boomers. I'm Freddie Finkelhammer, and you're not. Or maybe you are. If so, let's get together after the show and we'll trade birth certificates. Maybe bank accounts. Okay, kids, you know how to play the game. I'm going to give you a word and 2 definitions. Only one of those definitions is correct. When you've made your choice about which word you think is correct, just push your belly button.
The end of the story was just that
that's my tricycle horn.
He listened to Henrietta.
Okay.
The end.
The first word is cantankerous. 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 Now, tell me, kids, is cantankerous A, a positive mental attitude training for military tank commanders, or does cantankerous mean B, ill-tempered or quarrelsome?
Ill-tempered.
Dan Hanley from Skokie, Illinois says cantankerous means B, ill-tempered or quarrelsome. Right you are, Dan. On the other hand, I do think tank commanders should have a positive mental attitude. I mean, there's nothing worse than a cantankerous tank commander having a bad day. Look at General Patton. All right, word number 2, tumult. T-U-M-U-L-T. Tumult. Now, tell me, kids, is a tumult A, a stomach ache, or B, a disturbance or uproar? Harold Fassbender from Biloxi, Mississippi says a tumult is a stomach ache.
Wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harold. That is not correct. A tumult is B, a disturbance or uproar. Now, I guess you could have a tumult in your tummy. Then again, you could have a brouhaha in your belly. Shake up in your stomach. Well, it's really not. All I know is that here we are at word number 3. Blasé. B-L-A-S-E. Blasé. Now, tell me, boomers, does blasé mean A, bored or disinterested, or is blasé B, French for pass the cucumbers? Jeannie Thornton from Nashville, Tennessee says blasé means A, bored or disinterested.
You're right, kid.
Good girl, Jeannie. You are correct. I believe pass the cucumbers in French is actually vous le plaisez le stinking cucumber over here, s'il vous plaît. And finally, our weirdest word, puce. P-U-C-E. Puce. Now tell me, boomers, for our really weird prize, is puce A, the substance remaining underneath your fingernails after reaching underneath the car seat to look for pennies, or B, an adjective meaning dark brown?
Adjective meaning dark brown.
Denny Sprates in Johnsburg, Illinois says puce means dark brown. Congratulations, Big Dan.
I knew that.
You are correct. Although when you do reach under your car seat for pennies, usually you find something puce. Ted, what do we have for Denny today? Well, Fred, we're going to give Denny a set of matching puce-colored bath towels. And that's not all. Denny Sprates is the new proud owner of a set of puce-colored cabinet knobs. Oh, my goodness. Denny, aren't you going to be the Prince of Puce? I feel pretty peckish, which is priceless, perhaps. Until next time, this is Freddie Finkelhammer saying so long. Until next time.
Hey, we got a detour.
What's the big idea?
In May of 1993, someone accused 3 people of scribbling words on the wall of his place of worship, making fun of the Prophet Muhammad. That's called blasphemy, and in the Muslim religion, blasphemy is a serious crime. One of those accused was a 14-year-old boy named Salamat Masih. Together with 2 other men, he was immediately arrested.
Turns out that Salamat had argued with a neighborhood boy over pet pigeons. The boy later said he had seen Salamat write on the mosque wall. When you learn that Salamat can neither read nor write, it makes you wonder how he could have written anything. But the truth does not always win out. Immediately, processions of people began demanding that the 3 be hanged. In the next few months, one of the older men was murdered, and Salamat was sentenced to death.
A 14-year-old boy given a death sentence for writing on the wall of a building, even though he cannot read nor write? Sure, it makes you angry, but there isn't much you can do about it. Or is there?
After learning all they could about the incident, an organization known as Amnesty International contacted the Pakistan government. Months later, Salamat was released and his family moved away to a safe place. No one will ever know exactly why Salamat was released, but that's okay with the folks at Amnesty. The only thing that matters to them is that the story had a happy ending. A happy ending they may have had a lot to do with.
It just seemed like another sad case of people killing
I'm
each other.
making complicated stuff. So what is this Amnesty International organization?
All right, time to learn
Are
about
they
Amnesty
superheroes?
International.
Magicians? Fierce warriors, maybe? The people like you and I, who do their fighting with nothing more than pens and pencils.
The story began 35 years ago. While riding on the subway to work, a lawyer named Peter Arneson read a newspaper story about 2 Portuguese students who were arrested and sentenced to 7 years in jail for raising their glasses in a toast to freedom. Angry, Arneson was going to write a letter of protest to the Portuguese government. Then he thought for a second. Come on, Peter. If their government throws 2 kids in jail for 7 years just for talking about freedom, are they going to pay attention to what I have to say? No way. He decided they needed lots of people to protest, lots of people all over the world, people who would keep up the pressure until the prisoners were released.
Arneson wrote a long newspaper article that told the stories of several people unjustly arrested and imprisoned in many different countries. Thousands of letters and contributions filtered in his tiny home office, and Amnesty International was born.
The word
All right, don't
amnesty
crash, don't
usually means
crash.
forgiveness,
Whoop.
forgiving someone who has done something wrong. The funny thing is, almost all of the prisoners Amnesty tries to help haven't done anything wrong at all. Some of these are in jail only because of their color, others because of their beliefs. People called prisoners of conscience.
Aha! The difficult word detector tripped on that word, all right.
Your conscience is this invisible part of your brain that decides between right and wrong. Have you ever heard of people with a guilty conscience? They're talking about someone who has done something wrong and feels badly about it. Prisoners of conscience are people who do what they think is right, and they get arrested for it.
Hold it.
Did I just go in a circle?
For doing what's right?
It happens, even in our country.
Chat?
Of course, sometimes
I think
right
the
is
routing
different to
broke.
different people. When your mom and dad were growing up, thousands of men refused to fight in the Vietnam War. They
Fuck
refused
it.
because they didn't think we should be fighting a war in Vietnam. They didn't think it was right.
Our government at the time saw it a different way. They said, look here, guys. The right thing to do is to fight for your country. If you don't, you're wrong, and you go to jail.
I'm going this
Today,
way.
the man responsible for many of these decisions to send all those Americans to fight in Vietnam says the war was wrong, and he even knew it at the time. So as you can see, what is right gets awfully complicated.
There we go.
But most prisoners of conscience haven't
Fixed
done
it.
anything wrong in anybody's book. They are simply arrested to keep them quiet about ideas and beliefs a government doesn't agree with.
Imagine you're living in my country. You're out on the playground one day and you say you think Aladdin was the best movie ever made. Unfortunately, I'm kind of a Home Alone fan. 20 minutes later, a police car pulls into the parking lot. They push you inside and take you to jail without telling you why. Later,
That's what I
they
do with
hang you up
Aladdin
on clotheslines
fans.
by the
Arrest
thumb
them
for a couple
all.
hours to try and get you to say things that aren't true. They keep you in jail without telling you why and without giving you a trial. Can you imagine that happening?
Right, King.
We can't even imagine it because the fact is, we're pretty spoiled here in America. We can't imagine getting arrested for just saying what we believe because we have
Oh
freedom
man,
of
we
speech. We can't
Kid,
imagine getting
times
arrested for writing a
change.
story or going to church because we have freedom of the press and freedom of worship.
But it's a different story in other countries around the world. A philosophy teacher was sentenced to 25 years in prison for allowing friends and family to read his work after he was fired from school. 2 white men were imprisoned in South Africa for demanding that blacks have equal rights. A student in Greece was imprisoned and tortured for shouting slogans against the government.
What exactly is Amnesty International all about? It's about human rights.
Again, imagine
Amnesty
you're
has more
on
than
an
1
American
million
Airlines
members in over
flight and
8,000
you're learning
different
all about
volunteer
Amnesty
groups working in
International
7
and your
different
parents have
countries.
no
Their
clue.
home office is in London, England. When Amnesty hears about a prisoner of conscience, their researchers in London find out as much as they can about the case. They want to make sure the prisoner wasn't doing anything wrong or violent that makes them deserve to be in jail.
Then the prisoner is adopted by an amnesty group, hopefully by 2 or 3 groups, all in separate countries. To make sure amnesty work stays fair and square, amnesty groups aren't allowed to work for someone imprisoned in their own country. The groups are made up of people like you and I, our parents and their friends.
A lot of them are
They're
like
students,
praxis for
farmers,
kids. It's very
teachers, businesses,
interesting.
and bankers.
But I feel like
It's
a lot of
food,
kids
money, and
material
clothing
back
to
then,
save
like in the
their family.
90s, was a
But the most
little
important thing they do is write letters.
like we
They write letters? To whom?
for lack of a
people
better
who are
term, I
holding
remember
person in
90s stuff being quote
I don't get
unquote
it,
woke
King.
pretty
These
much.
people arrest someone just because of their beliefs. Sometimes they even torture them. I don't get why they would care about a bunch of letters.
Have you ever done something you're ashamed of?
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you.
How about teasing your little sister? Come on, tell the truth. I know you have.
Okay, I guess I may have teased her once or twice in my life.
So let's say you're teasing her and your mom walks in the door.
I say, Haley, would you like to read a book or play checkers?
Exactly. It's one thing doing something kind of mean without anyone around. It's another thing when there's someone standing in the doorway watching.
When things happen in other countries, Amnesty can't be in the doorway, but they can let the bad guys know that the world is watching. That there are people around the world who know and care about the prisoners.
And it is important for the prisoners to know people care about them, too. One prisoner, later released from a prison in Paraguay, said,
"For years, I was held in a tiny cell. My only contact was with my torturers. My only company were the
Honking's not
cockroaches
working.
and mice. On Christmas Eve, the door to my cell opened and a guard tossed in a crumpled piece of paper. It said, 'Take heart, the world knows you are alive. We're with you. Regards, Monica, Amnesty International.' That letter saved my life."
There is another part of Amnesty called urgent action. They act quickly to deal with cases where they suspect the prisoner might be tortured or killed.
On Wednesday, May 18th in Peru, a teacher and president of a mother's group was abducted from her home by 5 soldiers. At the prison, her relatives were told she was not being held, but they were afraid she was being held at the dreaded secret detention center. On May 20th, the London office of Amnesty learned about her abduction. They quickly began to gather facts about her case and sent a telegram to the president of Peru requesting information about her. For the next 2 days, Amnesty officers in several countries sent telegrams to the commander of the military.
On May 23rd, the facts of her disappearance were confirmed, and the London office sent all the information to Amnesty's Urgent Action Office.
Okay, good,
Immediately,
good.
they printed copies and mailed the appeal to 500 members of Amnesty's Urgent Action Group.
Beginning Monday, May 24th, General Fernandez de Villa began receiving hundreds of messages from these urgent action members, calling for Mrs. Escobar's protection. On Tuesday, May 29th, 13 days after her abduction, Carmela Escobar was released from a detention center.
Wow, that's teamwork. Why haven't I ever heard of this group?
Well,
'Cause you're a
Amnesty
child.
is proud of their many success stories, but you never hear them really crow about their work. Governments who release prisoners don't want the world to think they were pressured into it. While a prisoner is being held, Amnesty will make as much noise as possible, but once they're released, they play it cool and go on to the next case.
How about it, Boomers? Does this sound like something you and your family might like to get involved in? If so, send your name and address to us here at Boomerang, and we'll send them along to the Children's Urgent Action Office in Nederland, Colorado.
Okay.
You will receive a current edition of the Children's Urgent Action Appeal and a letter writing starter packet with all the information you need to get involved. If you decide to continue, you can receive, at no cost, the Children's Edition Urgent Actions every month.
Aw, man, it's gonna take a couple of weeks for all that to happen. Let's give them someone to help right now.
Great idea. Okay, the latest
All right,
edition
kids,
of
send
Urgent
all your
Action
information
highlights
to
the case of
Boomerang.
12-year-old Ayat Abdal Jabbar Salman. Ayat was arrested in early April and is probably being held at the juveniles prison in the town of Madinat Isa. No one in her family knows exactly where or why she's being held. Amnesty is afraid these people are being mistreated by the police.
Please write a courteous letter to His Highness, the Emir, and ask him why 12-year-old Ayat is being held. Ask him to allow her to go home right away if she has not committed a crime.
The Emir's address is His Highness... We better spell this one for you. SHAIKH space ISSA space BIN space SALMAN space AL space KHALIFA. The Amiri Court, AMIRI, Box 555, Rifa'a Palace, RIFA, apostrophe A, Palace, Bahrain, BAHRAIN.
Again, you're on Delta. You're just listening to this, and your parents are like, "Oh, look, our kids writing a letter to Amnesty International. Our kids writing a letter on behalf of Amnesty International. Pretty cool. Pretty cool."
I know how busy everyone is. We've got homework and track and chores and reading and baseball.
But just stop for a moment and imagine what it would feel like if you were arrested and put in prison for nothing at all. Your family probably doesn't know where you are. If they do, they can't help you. You're all alone. Imagine how great it would feel to know that hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world care about you. That they are taking a few minutes of their time to pick up
Yes,
a
they are
pencil and
asking us
paper
to write the
try
Saudi
help
royal
you be
family.
All these problems may seem so far away, but we're going to be in charge of things in 20 to 30 years, and it's never too early to think about tomorrow.
We're all in this together, Boomers.
And that's the big idea.
You'd think an audio magazine for children would be more like, okay, kids, here's some math problems, and instead it's like, write a letter to the Saudi family to free this child prisoner. And okay, I can't disagree, but yeah.
My name is Amy Moss, and I'm 12 years old, and I live in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Sebmo, a lot of people die in these issues. You hear a lot about people dying.
Something really better or whatever came up, I would give my friend the ticket or whatever it was and let her go.
My name is Kate Berg. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. If my friend asked me to do something special for her birthday, and 2 days before that I got tickets to the very best concert, then I would still do what my friend asked me to do because I had made a commitment to her first.
Hi, my name is Robert Chambers. I'm 12 years old and I live in Dallas, Texas.
Hey, Dallas.
If I was in that situation, I'd tell the friend who wanted me to go to the really cool sporting event that I had a friend whose birthday was, and I wanted to make them feel special for their special day. And I'd tell my friend I'd love to go with them some other time if that was possible.
Hello, my name is Catherine Chambers. I am 10 years old and I live in Dallas, Texas. If my friend wanted me to go to their birthday party, then another friend wanted me to go to something cool, I would go to my friend's birthday party because that is really more special than any other thing like a basketball playoffs or something.
I disagree, kid, but what can you do?
What did the captain say to the crew before sailing around the world? Get in.
If Abe Lincoln were alive today, what would he be most famous for? For being the oldest man in the world.
Okay, kids.
Why did the farmer call his pig Ink? Because he was always running out of the pen.
Good one, kids. Good one.
What is the best way to avoid infection caused by biting insects? Don't bite any.
What did a dinosaur do? Why did the dinosaur lose its tail?
Why?
Because it bite it.
Honestly, I like that joke the most.
Why does a stork stand on one foot? If you lifted the other one, he'd fall over.
I love the tortured laughter in each of these segments.
What do you do if an elephant swallows you? Run around and around till you get all pooped out.
Ugh. Hey, kids.
What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor?
Fuck.
Where's my tractor?
Yeah, he probably said that too. Fuck it, I'm speeding. I don't care anymore. What's the worst that can happen, huh? Uh-oh. Maybe I won't speed. Maybe I won't speed. These guys are having heart attacks here.
A few nights after the bombing in Oklahoma City, I was
we're
watching
going back to the
horrible
Oklahoma
pictures
City
of the
bombing.
burnt-out building on TV. Then some news reports started up about the guy they arrested, about meetings he attended with people who dress up like army men and shoot guns on weekends. A reporter asked some of these gun people what they thought about the bombing. Most of them said it was an awful thing, but that it was understandable, because a lot of patriotic people like themselves hate the government for taking away their guns and passing other laws they don't like. One of them quoted Thomas Jefferson, another talks about the Constitution. Well, I was a little confused. I never knew Mr. Jefferson, but the Constitution I studied in school talks about a government of the people, by the people. If the gun groups hate the government, and the government is made up of people, does this mean the gun groups hate people? One thing for sure, the guy who stood off that bomb did.
You see,
Don't
I don't
hit
think
me.
Americans who really love their country would use the Oklahoma bombing as an excuse to send out hate messages. I don't think Americans who really love their country think shooting guns on weekends is the way to change things either. When I think of patriotic Americans, I think of the rescue workers I saw with tears in their eyes. The white fireman cradling a black baby in his arms. The Afro-American woman sitting in the back of a pickup truck, giving a free sandwich and coffee to an Hispanic policeman. The grandmother who sent money to the Red Cross. The 8-year-old boy who sent his favorite teddy bear to a boy who lost his mom. The grown-ups and kids who were in that building, who just wanted to live. Those guys playing Army haven't been connected to the Oklahoma bombing, but I've got a suggestion for all of them anyway. Look, the world has problems. No grown-up I've ever met likes to pay taxes. There are always going to be rules and laws you don't like. But if you really love your country, why don't you put your guns down for a weekend and pick up some trash along a highway? Take a kid to a baseball game. Buy some flowers for an old person. Maybe if you stop feeling sorry for yourself and help someone else, this country won't seem like such a bad place after all. This is Jessica Strom with another kind of news update.
Sorry to laugh. Kid, I don't think that American militias will go for that.
Yes, those big fat interstate highways stretching across the United States are good for something, like getting from here to someplace else in an absolute hurry, like knowing you're never more than a few miles from candy bars and bathrooms, like knowing it's hard to get way lost. But driving on interstate isn't so good for other things, like seeing the country. Oh, America still zips past your eyes, all right. But it's like this faraway, silent movie. A movie without the smells and smiles and handshakes and wrong turns that let you feel the real America. See anything interesting on that map yet? I was the map reader on my cross-country trip with Gramps. It was my job to get us where we were going in the most interesting way possible. The problem is, we have this way of going nowhere in particular.
Hold on!
There's nothing much around except a town called Moab down south in Utah. If you want to go there, we stay on the interstate for 40 more miles and then hang a Louie.
Look at him.
Gramps groaned. 40 more miles on interstate?
Perfect.
But I just saw a sign that said Moab, next exit. Yeah, Gramps, I told him. But you know how interstates are thick green lines? And regular highways are thinner red lines? And the back roads are shiny black lines? Yeah, well this road is a skinny dotted black line. He said thoughtfully. That would probably make it an armadillo path. He pulled over at the next exit and our eyes joined together on a long gravel road snaking through a whole lot of nothingness. We've driven on gravel roads before, right, Tobe? Gramps offered hopefully. A wink and a grin later, we were bouncing down a gravel road that reminded us how much we both loved adventure. Unfortunately, it also reminded Gramps and I that we hadn't been to the bathroom in quite a while. When we passed an old boarded-up store that had an outhouse alongside, we stopped.
You know, next time I see a thing, like next time I stream, I will try to get out of the vehicle to look at stuff.
Don't mind the sign. The sign he was talking about was a weather-beaten piece of cardboard tacked on the wall over the hole. It read, "Watch out for Gila monsters, rattlesnakes, vinegaroons, cone-nosed kissing bugs, tarantulas, horned toads, red ants, Jerusalem crickets, and cinch bugs before sitting down."
I don't know if I can get out. I want to get
out of
out.
that outhouse in 9.3 seconds.
I want to say there are some places you can get out in the game.
Nothingness has a way of becoming somethingness when you're part of it. The sandy brown canvas that had seemed so bare from the superhighway was now absolutely blooming with life. Canyon pines, sunflowers and hedgehog cactus and purple loco weed. And then there were the rocks.
KFCG!
Moab, the bigger the rocks got, mushrooming finally into fantastic cliffs carved up by the Colorado River, now hugging alongside. Moab means far country, and it's the kind of town you would expect to find out in the middle of the desert. Nice people, very hot, and just a little peculiar. We went out to get a bite to eat, and on our way back to the motel, we walked by a ballpark where a bunch of guys were playing softball. The thermometer said 98 degrees. There was only one thing wrong with this picture. It wasn't noon. It was 11 o'clock at night. It didn't take long to figure that baseball probably wasn't something you did during the middle of a summer day in Moab.
True.
Breakfast the next morning, we met two boys in college who were spending their spring vacation mountain biking around the area. They told us we might want to check out the Arches National Monument just outside of town. On our way across the states, we've learned that it's the strangers you meet at train stations or while you're filling up with gas who make the best travel guides.
There's something about a train that's magic.
Huevos Rancheros and headed out to Arches. Some man-made monuments are pretty awesome. Big stone towers like the Washington Monument, the Empire State Building, the Pyramids of Egypt. But creeping past these crimson-colored cliffs, realize that no one builds monuments.
I'm in a
like Mother
hurry.
Nature.
Let's see what they say about this trip.
Of course, she takes her own sweet time with construction.
Excellent!
Like maybe
Yeah!
a million or so years. But all that hard work shows. Huge boulders.
Ooh, look at
on top of one
me.
another,
Let's see
looking
what
like all
job
it would
offers are in
take is a loud
Roswell.
sneeze to send them crashing to the ground. Circles mysteriously carved in the rock as if it was so much styrofoam.
Let's
Groups
choose
of
Dallas. Let's
towering
take this
rock
job.
figures clustered together as if they were big stone giants.
Oh, I
chatting
gotta get
about
the car,
weather.
huh?
The flyer we got from the ranger's office said that most of the rock we would see was laid down as sand over 150 million years ago.
Gotta turn around.
Then lifted up and eroded by wind, water, and frost. Gramps spied a perfect circle that had been carved into a cliff about
we're
15
good.
feet over our heads. I wonder if I can get up there for a picture, Toby. Here, you hold the camera. Please be careful, Gramps. I didn't want Gramps to get hurt, and I especially didn't want Gramps to get hurt out here in the desert with no one but me around. He put his toe on a ledge, then reached up and grabbed another ledge, and kept right on going until he reached the circle. I snapped a couple of pictures, and it was time for Gramps to come down. He made it down the first couple of ledges all right. Then after groping around with his foot, he suddenly stopped. He couldn't quite reach the next ledge with his toe without letting go of the rock above. And if he didn't land just right, it would be a long way down. You know what, Toby? I did a little rock climbing when I was in college, and it's all coming back to me. What's coming back, Gramps? That it's easier to get up the rock than it is to get down. His voice wasn't like Gramps at all. It sounded kind of dry and nervous. Gramps' body was tucked up as close to the rock as he could tuck, but you could still see he was straining to hold on. For the first time on our trip,
All right, I think we
didn't
got
know
this.
what to do, and I was really scared. Need a little help there, rock climber? A voice boomed up from behind. It was those college guys we had seen at the restaurant this morning. Gramps wasn't much in the mood for looking or talking, so I nodded my head in a big yes. One boy got on the other's shoulders. Okay now, sir. My shoulder is right below your right foot. Step on my shoulder, then you can reach the ledge to your right with your hand. Gramps did as he was told, and in no time at all, what had seemed like such a scary situation was over, and he was down. His whole head was redder than a radish, as much from the heat as from embarrassment. He thanked the boys. They gave us a bottle of water, and we settled down in the shade to rest. Make that a lesson to you, Toby. On second thought, make it 2 lessons. 1, never be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And 2, you're never too old to learn a lesson. On our way out of the Moab area that day, we stopped at a sign that said Indian petroglyphs. There was a little guided path that told how Native Americans etched carvings into the boulders hundreds, sometimes thousands of years ago. No one knows for sure what the carvings mean. Some think the rocks may have been prayers for a good hunt. Others think that they were like message centers for nomadic Indians passing through with the seasons. That's the explanation Grandpa liked. He pointed to a series of circles and stick figures in the rock below and translated, "Lone Star, you should see the dandy little mule elk I bagged today. I'll see you in a few months. Don't forget to carve. Love, Running Brook." We grabbed some shade again and guzzled some more water. About 20 feet away, a lizard scampered between plants like a grown-up darting between store awnings in a rainstorm. It was noon now, and not even the ruggedest desert
It's fine.
life was silly enough to be out in the midday sun. Flowers curl up, snakes hide, spiders burrow into
Let
the dirt.
me
Even
through.
my eyelids cringe, narrowing to tiny slits to better protect my eyes
Yay, thank
from the
you.
brilliant shower of light. Only hawks and vultures brave the noonday heat,
What?
carving lonely, lazy circles
It's fine.
against the sky. My mind wandered back to our frontier heroes, those rough and tumble pioneers who tamed and conquered the West. Cowboys who broke wild horses, established mining towns, and carved wagon trails. How different they seemed to be from the Native Americans who wrote their stories on these rocks. Anasazi and Ute tribes who scratched out a living here in the desert hundreds of years earlier without
Why?
iron or gunpowder.
That's your fault,
Like other
dude.
desert life,
Get out of
they
here.
only managed to survive because of their healthy respect for the ways and rules of nature. Blend or conquer? I think I'll go with the blend.
That's it for this issue, Boomers. But stay
All right.
tuned, because we've got more stuff coming your way. If you're not a regular subscriber to Boomerang, call the 1-800 number on the cassette box to find out how you can get a new Boomerang tape every month. If you would like to order some of our 35 back issues,
Oh, that was Boomerang! 3 issues, kids!
So take care of each other out there, Boomers, and remember, it all comes back.
To what? Kid, what does it come back to? And folks, that's today's stream. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who came in. And yeah, Boomer, this was every last time I was like, oh, this is just some random unhinged stuff. No, it was very unhinged. That was extremely unhinged. I kind of respect how unhinged it is. You know, it's like good for you for telling kids about all this shit. All right. I'm not doing any other streams this week because I'm busy working on stuff, but I will be back next week probably with Danny and Retro Pals. So let's look for a channel to raid. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what we got. You know, it's been a while since we've let's see. It's been a while since I've raided Proxy, so why don't we do that? Yeah. And all right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back next week, and yeah, see you later.
Training system. Always cover the system component.